roll call.
John Hutzko.
Russ Smith. Michael O'Brien.
Lori G.
John Cutler.
Craig Smith.
If everyone would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have two upcoming meetings. The next one is Wednesday, November 5th. November 4th is Election Day, so this next meeting is on Wednesday. And the second out meeting is Tuesday, November 18th. We have several sets of minutes to approve. Has everybody had a chance to review the July meetings? Actually, we had a light crew, it looks like, on July 1st. So, you know what, let's see.
Motion to approve. I think actually most of those people were in there. Remind us, it's Jason.
No, I wasn't here.
Yeah.
No, I mean
So-
the people who were.
Oh, we're here, I'm sorry.
Right, so do I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 1st?
So moved.
Second.
Do I have a second? I have a second from John Hutzko. All in favor?
Aye.
And anyone who was not able to attend would abstain, so that would
Correct.
be Russ and John, and everybody else was here. Okay. And then the meeting on July 15th, the minutes of the meeting on July 15th, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining?
I'm abstaining, I wasn't there.
Michael's abstaining on that one. I haven't had a chance to look at our August minutes yet, so Pam, I'm going to hold them over for the next meeting. And, okay, it looks like we have one board member who's not here yet, so Pam, can we'll seat
the
one of our
dice.
alternates. Bear with us one moment. Okay, left. Bob Wilberg, if you could come up and sit for Jason until such time as he returns. I believe he will be here at some point. But...
As soon as you sit down.
Very good. So the first item on our agenda is an adjourned public hearing for the Hopewell Animal Hospital amended site plan on Route 52. And do we have anybody here for that application? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and reopen the public hearing. Do I have a motion to reopen the public hearing?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And just as our agenda states, unfortunately, the applicant was not able to complete their ARB approval, Architectural Review Board approval. So they have a couple more weeks to go before they have that approval. So the request is for us to directly adjourn this public hearing after we ask for public comment tonight, but just knowing there's nothing new about this application and no new information yet. Before we do the adjournment, is there anyone here to speak for or opposed to the Hopewell Animal Hospital site plan? Knowing again, nothing new, and we're going to be adjourning. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn this public?
I have a question.
Sure.
You know, we've been given all the copies of these plans, and I understand there's issues with these plans. Can somebody briefly, what is the issue with those plans, and should we even
With
look
respect
at
to the
these?
ARB, or?
Yes, and or.
Yeah, my understanding is we don't have the final plans yet because the ARB has asked for some windows to be moved, and there were some issues with the interior of the building, so the applicant needed time to look at that and redraw the architectural drawings.
Okay, so the site map and the footprint won't change, and that can be reviewed, but the building.
That's
features-
correct, but
Okay.
right, our public hearing includes the Architectural Review Board public hearing for the appearance of the building, and that is going to change.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn the Hopewell Animal Hospital amended site plan public hearing to our November 18th meeting?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The next item on our agenda is a extension of preliminary and final approval for Jackson Corners.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is John Getz, and I'm the applicant for Jackson Corners subdivision. I'm here to let the board know that we are finally we're about 2 weeks away from finishing our soil removal. We are in the process of having our surveyor produce a final as-built with topography. The health department, that was one of the conditions of approval. So we're finally there. So I hope to be back before the board in 6 months or so, hopefully less, with a final sign-off from the health department, back before the board for final approval for Phase 2 of the Jackson Corner subdivision.
Okay. So you have final on Phase 1 and what preliminary on Phase 2 right now?
Correct, Lori, yep.
Okay.
The site is probably, it's over 95% at final grade, so we're finally there.
Okay.
And, you know, we're hoping to move forward with final in a few months.
And when did you submit to the health department?
The health department, condition of health department approval is they want an as-built with showing topography, showing that the septic systems we have reached grade, we're at final grade.
Okay.
That was part of their hesitation to sign off on this many years ago, or give it final.
All right.
Do
So
you think?
you think you're about 6 months?
We are, you know, I can't anticipate how long it will take for the health department to do their final review, but 6 months definitely, you know, I'm hoping 6 months. If we can get the year, if we can get an extension for 6 months, I won't be back before the board, just in case the health department takes a little bit longer.
Normally they do. I was going to suggest just make it longer.
It would be nice if we can get the 6 months.
Okay.
But just if I may, just so we're clear though, you want to go ahead and get started on some infrastructure, isn't that correct? Which is technically part of Phase 2?
That's part of Phase 2. Correct.
I think that's part of what he wants to discuss with the board tonight is,
We're at the point now where we have there's some drainage to be done. There is some water main that has to be installed on the property. That's all part of Phase 2. And we'd like to see if we could commence with that work. I realize we'd have to post inspection fees and have an inspector out there. It's not a lot of work. It's probably 2 weeks' worth of total infrastructure work. But that's something that we would like to do, and if that's something I have...
Trying to get that done before frost or something?
Basically, yeah. It'd be nice to, and we'd like to stabilize. We'd like to completely stabilize over there before winter.
Okay.
It's liable to get ugly in about 4 weeks or so.
Correct.
If it's not stabilized by then, you could have...
Well, we're going to put a, you know, we're going to...
It just gets tougher the uglier
Sure.
it gets.
Well, we're going to heavy mulch it like we have to. Our swales are in place. We've had no erosion control problems over there, Lori. I know we still have our environmental monitoring going. I'd love to be able to suspend environmental monitoring once we get our final stabilization done. We haven't had any issues out there. The site is primarily gravel, so that's helped us out, but we've adhered to our erosion control measures, and it hasn't been a problem out there.
Okay. Let's do the 2 phases separately. So for Phase 1, you're just looking for 2 6-month extensions, and that'll close you out so you can complete your health department approval.
Correct.
All right. So do I have a motion to extend the Phase 1 approval for 2 6-month extensions?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. All right. And before we talk about the extension for Phase 2, Scott, are you familiar with what the applicant wants to do out there, and are you comfortable with the...
not in total scope. I know there's a water line that has to be extended down Jackson Road some distance.
Correct, yep.
Has to then be brought across Jackson Road.
Into our site,
Into
correct.
your site. However far you're going to go, I'm not quite sure, within your site. And then you spoke about some drainage that you wanted to...
Yeah, we have 3 catch basins that have to be installed in 400 lineal feet of, I believe it's 18-inch HDPE.
So you're at rough grade for your proposed road?
Correct.
So the dirt you have to remove is what, off the lot?
There's just 2 small areas that are left. One area is the original construction entrance that we installed, and that probably has 200 or 300 yards left.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was an existing home on the property. We took that existing home down, and there's a small mound that's left there, probably another few hundred yards.
But that doesn't affect your Board of Health testing, does it?
Nope, no.
So that's just really some minor
Absolutely, yeah.
stuff.
The proposed SDS areas are all at grade, and that will be confirmed with the survey that we have to produce and submit to the health department. And I'm sure we're going to be submitting it to the town also, so they can see where we're at with grades.
What would you want from the applicant to be able to allow them to do that?
Well, the
work?
water line extension to me is not a problem at all, because
Okay.
no matter what happens, so the water line gets extended. That's not a bad thing. As far as the drainage, you run the risk that if he doesn't get the Board of Health approval, that you've got drainage on a road that has issues, so.
Well, all the drainage, Scott, is within our site. There's nothing, we're not connecting to any, all the drainage goes to our detention basins that are in. There's nothing that's connected to a town drainage
No,
system.
it's not that sense, it's just that you'll have, like Twin Creeks, you'll have infrastructure in that may never get utilized. I mean, worst case, I don't know where you are with Board of Health, because you had to remove a lot of fill. I mean,
Yeah.
can you bring us up to speed, the dialogue
Sure.
that's currently going on with Board of Health?
Sure. Mike Gillespie's office, primarily Brian Stacosa, has been working with us and working with the health department. And not only did the health department come out initially and do deep tests with us before we took any soil out, they've been back 2 other times to verify the soil conditions out there. So they're happy from what they've seen, and they just want to make sure that we hit our mark and we are where we told them we'd be.
And by mark, what do you mean?
The grade, we're at elevation. Some of those,
Elevation.
yeah, some of those proposed septic systems were 15 feet, below original grade, and they're, I can't speak for why, but they wanted us at grade before they were comfortable enough to sign off, and that's why we have to produce that survey, final survey with topography, certified, so they can be sure that we hit the mark that they want us to be at.
Okay. So is the risk, Scott, that there's infrastructure out there, or is the risk that they install infrastructure and then have to move it because the health department decides something different?
I think that's the risk, only because they moved so much material off the site to get to where they are now. I mean, one thing I would suggest maybe is to go ahead and give approval for the water line, because that's going to take some time to do. And then maybe within the next 2 weeks, we can get a better handle from Board of Health. Maybe they can come out and just at least get a verbal sense that it's all going to work, and then they can move forward with the other part, even if Board of Health hasn't actually signed off on it yet, as long as we get a comfort level.
That's fine. I have no problem keeping in touch with the town and giving them updates.
Okay. Do you prefer to come back here then on November 5th?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm fine if the board wanted to allow him to move
I'm
forward
good
with the
with
water line extension, because that's one action.
Okay.
And then in 2 weeks, we could follow up with the actual on-site drainage.
Okay. Questions or concerns from board members? Okay.
Scott, would you
Joe, any-
would you be comfortable with the other things too if we gave him the year extension now, and you just would check on him as he was going along? The water, plus the water drain plus.
But it's going to be a change to the resolution, that's why it has to come back.
Okay.
We'll have to make a motion to amend the resolution and allow an additional.
Okay.
Right.
I just
And then
thought-
we also have to discuss, as far as the fees, when they'd be responsible to pay the fees.
But if we approve an extension and the 1-year extension and the water line extension right now, if you come back on November 5th, you can have what the actual change to the resolution would be for your site work and any escrows or whatever need to be in place. I think
So
we're fine
we'll
with
wrap the
that.
fees up at the next meeting. Okay.
And if we need to address the environmental monitor, if we want to
Backing
put
Okay.
a collar on that, I'm fine with that as
I understand, Lori. It's just, I want to let the board know that I understand the concerns of the board, and I just want to let the board know that it's only 3 catch basins. It's really minimal infrastructure. It's 3 catch basins and a few hundred feet of pipe.
Just like to get a sense
Yep.
from Board of Health where you're at. That's-
Completely understand. I just want to try to get as much stabilized as possible before we get the, frost but
Ugly things.
basically, yeah. We'd like to get, once our drainage is in, the water's in, then we can completely, we could even go ahead and possibly get blacktop down this year and grade and be done. And I know it's at our risk. I would agree to taking out any infrastructure that we put in if for some reason we didn't get Board of Health approval, but I think that's...
So conversely, if he's pushing to get, I don't know if you're going to get pavement. I don't think
I was
that's
going to say, so
realistic.
blacktop
Well-
is very different than catch basins.
Yeah, because you got to
Well-
get your item in, you got to get an as-built submitted. There's quite a bit involved, and this is October's almost over.
Understood.
Close
No, we're
by
pushing. I
Thanksgiving,
understand.
so-
I
So
understand.
I don't think that's going to happen. It's up to you. If you want to leave it to me based on my conversation with Board of Health, that's fine, or we can revisit it in 2 weeks. It's up to you.
My only concern, Scott, is just that if we need to figure out what escrows need to be and things like that, if there's an issue, it's got to come back here. If it works out, then I'm fine with it. But
I would
I
think
can't,
the water line's
honestly, I
gonna
don't
keep you
remember the
busy for a
resolution
couple
right
of
now,
weeks,
whether we
isn't
had
it?
a minimum number. I don't know if anybody
Yeah,
else has.
probably for about a week. Once they start, it'll take them a week to do.
Site inspection.
Yeah.
It's minimal. The water line, I think, is only 200 feet total, and the amount of...
Across the road,
Got to cross the road.
yeah.
I mean,
You got to come in for a
And that
pre-con.
happens regardless, so that one I'm with you. I don't have an
Yeah.
issue with the water line.
I'm leaning towards the water line and come back in 2 weeks and wrap up the other part.
That's fine.
Okay.
So are we going
So
to vote again, or?
do I have a motion to grant a 1-year extension on the Phase 2 preliminary approval and modify the resolution to allow the installation of the water line extension?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And then if you come back for our November 5th meeting with exactly what you want to do and any escrows and things like that that need to be established. In the
Thank you.
meantime,
Okay,
please
fine.
work with the town to have whatever health department confirmation you need done.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is an extension of final approval for Fian, for-lot subdivision on Stormville Mountain Road. Hello. Hello.
We're back. Everything's gone well. We just need Board of Health and some things. We did all the road work. We could talk about that, but I think everyone's pretty happy with everything we said we were going to do.
Okay, I just want to keep you a little bit closer to the mic. So
Oh, I think we've done all the things we were required to do.
Okay.
Board of Health waiting. Other than that,
Okay, and when did you submit for Board of Health?
2 months.
Ago?
That would be Jill.
2
Step
months
in
ago.
here, honey. Let's see. It would be very end of August.
Okay. Are you expecting it to take the year or just requesting the year in case they have a delay?
Correct. We you know, you'd know better than I. I mean, we're 10 years into this. I have no idea. Time has changed
Okay.
with my respect to zoning.
But nothing else that you need to do, you're just waiting on the Board of Health now?
Correct. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we're all set.
Okay. Any questions or comments from board members?
No.
Then do I have a motion to grant a one-year extension on the Fian four-lot subdivision?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, the next item on our agenda is a decision for the Hopewell Sports Dome site plan on Auditorium Drive and Route 52. Hi,
Good evening.
good evening.
Stephen Feinstein, counsel to the applicant. Good to be here tonight. And Chris Lapine is also here with me. I don't want to interrupt if you were going to put something else on the record before I...
All I was going to do is just mention we have an alternate seated right now. We need to swap alternates because we have someone who's recused. So bear with us 1 second. Steve, we'll have you come on up and sit for Jason. Thank you, Bob. Sorry about that.
So we've received the draft resolution.
Okay. And do you have the professionals' letters? There's 4 professionals' letters that are appended to that.
Yeah, and it's not coming into the...
No, I didn't receive those.
I thought I did.
I see the reference to them, but I don't you.
Okay. Do we have,
at the office.
Brendan,
He doesn't-
Michelle, Joe, do we have extra copies of your letters we can provide to the applicant?
But we got, it can be clarified, so I don't know. Words, words.
There's a couple of significant items that you really, you do want to do.
There were a number of, because obviously it's sort of hot off the presses, so there were a number of things that we were discussing and wanted to bring to your attention and maybe have a brief discussion about if we can work through it. And Chris will handle most of the details. But one of the things I wanted to mention is the identified name of the site plan, I think is incorrect. There is no LLC called Kingdome Hopewell Sports Dome Ventures.
No, there isn't. That's the actual title on your map. So the first row says Kingdome and the second row says Hopewell Sports Dome Ventures LLC.
I don't think it was ever meant to be combined in order to give the impression.
Do you want the title to just be Kingdome? Or what?
We'd like the name of the site plan just to be Hopewell Sports Dome Ventures LLC.
Okay, so I'm fine with that. We're going to add a condition that says you need to update your map to remove the word Kingdome from the
Okay,
title.
I'm sure we can take care of that, right, Chris? Okay. The other question I had, and it sort of bleeds a little bit into some of the specific language when it refers to the applicant in the resolutions. I know we have a combined subdivision and site plan resolution being proposed. It was my understanding that the applicant for the subdivision is both Hopewell Sports Dome Ventures LLC and Brightland Solar, but that the applicant for site plan is just Hopewell Sports Dome Ventures LLC. And if I'm correct, and if that's clarified, then, for example, Condition number 4, regarding stormwater, the stormwater area on Route 52, it talks about the limited rights for the applicant to landscape and maintain. And I think everybody understood that applicant being my client and not the folks from Brightland Solar. So I'd ask that the name of the applicant be maybe broken down into 2, the applicant for subdivision being as listed, which is Hopewell Sportsdome Ventures LLC and Brightland Solar LLC, and the applicant for site plan approval being Hopewell Sportsdome Ventures LLC.
Okay, and Pam, can we just confirm that that is the way the application was submitted to our office? I agree that that's the way it should be, but I just want to make sure that our paperwork is correct.
Absolutely.
Just the subdivision? And the site plan is separate just for Hopewell Sportsdome? Okay.
All right, so Chris is going to go through some of the questions that his review raised that we discussed, and I'll pop up when that becomes necessary.
Page 2, be it further resolved that since no land has been set aside for public recreation, in lieu of a land fee of $6,000 due and payable within 60 days, the understanding of the applicant was the recreational aspects of this project would be seen through the community benefit plan, as opposed to paying a recreational fee to the town of East Fishkill.
That seems reasonable.
That is,
I don't know what the conversation specifically with the applicant was on the community rec discussion, because that's part of that's the town board's
Correct.
purview. But was that the agreement with the town board that the rec fee would not be required?
Yeah,
The issue of the rec fee was not discussed. It was never
Okay.
discussed with us or asked of us that it would be on the resolution. Our
And
impression
any
was that
issues
it...
is if this board just notifies the town board that we waived this fee because there's going to be the community benefit agreement, and that way if that affects the way they want that agreement worded or something they want within that agreement.
No problem.
Any objections or concerns by the board?
no, it's great.
Okay.
Well, could you just say or as otherwise amended by the town board? Leave it at this or otherwise amended by the town board? You give the town board the authority to waive it once they reach that agreement or as part of that agreement?
Or I could just change it to say will be met through the recreation agreement with the town board or something like that.
The rec agreement is a condition of this approval, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that's how...
I'm sorry?
No, I was just making sure that we all understood that it was a condition of this that the rec agreement be entered into.
Yeah, we recognize it's not our purview, but we're requiring that you enter that agreement before the map will be signed. But you'll
Understood and
enter the
agreed.
agreement with the town board, and you'll negotiate it with the town board. So Scott, is your preference for me to just change this to say that,
I'll defer to you, Lori. It was just, my thought.
okay.
I don't have I'll defer to you.
All right, I think what I'll do is when we get to the recreation, to the community benefit agreement, I'll mention that the rec fee has been waived in view of this. And that
Okay.
way, if something, it's clear, and we'll make sure a copy of it goes to
In
the town board.
consideration of that or something
Right.
like that.
Thank you.
Yep.
The next item on the same page, be it further resolved that all site inspection and building fees in the amount as calculated by the town engineer are due upon signing of the site plan or building permit as required before any work commences. The applicant is seeking an understanding of what that site inspection fee may consist of, and if it is money that's placed in an escrow and money that's not used, if it's refundable.
Any money not used would be refundable. I'm assuming it is an escrow, and Scott, I don't know if we've gotten to the point of calculating the minimum, but
I don't think we have calculated it.
typically what happens is there's the fee for each inspection, depending on how the work is progressing. If the town needs to be there more or less, it may change the number of inspections.
As long as
So
it's refundable, it's not an issue.
any
un-
unused amounts would not
amount.
be kept by the
But
town.
Pam, just to clarify, the inspection fee is a fee, not an escrow, though. So it is actually a fee.
Flat fee for all inspections, or is it a flat fee per inspection?
No, it's 5% of what it's going to cost to put all the infrastructure.
Okay. So do you have the infrastructure cost estimates?
They have to provide it, yeah.
Okay.
So it's an inspection fee.
All right, then I take back what I said, because
just-
maybe I'm...
Just trying to look at the size of this project
$20
and
million project on a 5%.
No, but it's not on the
It's
20
on
million.
the infrastructure.
on the
On
infrastructure.
ponds,
so if it's-
drainage,
so if you-
guide rail.
Oh, okay.
It's not your structure. That's part of your building permit fee.
Is the items that it's applicable to part of the statute or town law? Is it any, because it's not in here, in terms of what items constitute what the 5% will be applied to?
It's the site work, it's not the structure. The structure's covered under your building permit.
So I think it's any improvements on the site, whether it be the pavement, the drainage, the landscaping, lighting.
Not the building and not the
building.
Not the ball fields.
and
the ball fields and the decking inside?
No,
No.
that'd be part of your building permit. That's the pond construction, your drainage, sidewalks.
So it doesn't
That kind
consist
of
of the ball fields?
No.
That's your part.
That is what it is, okay.
We don't care if your ball field settles so much, but we care if the sidewalk settles or the drainage settles or that kind of stuff.
And properly so.
Under the item number 3, on page 3, formation of a water and sewer district on Route 52 by the town board. The
Page three,
applicant...
I'm sorry, which number? Oh,
It's
number
the
three,
third
sorry.
condition.
Third condition on page 3.
Okay.
We understand that that's being created by the town board. Is there a time frame associated with that that we can place within the resolution?
Only because as a condition to the approval, without a time frame on it,
We can't get site plan approval.
Right, so Scott, this was where I said there were some items that I felt needed to happen before the signing of the map, and other items that might happen post-signing of the map. Is this something that we'd be comfortable post-signing of the map, because we can call it out?
Well, we are. I don't know if the applicant is, but we are. I mean, we are in the process of forming the water and sewer districts. You know, it's probably 60 days out for a public hearing on that, and then another period of time to actually...
To actually get it done.
Yeah, so, you know, by the time it's finalized, it could be 4 to 6 months.
So I don't have an issue making a note, because if you look back at page 2, the last be it further resolved, where the conditions start, it says, following conditions will be complied with before the maps are signed unless otherwise noted. We can make a note on this condition.
Okay.
It says that it doesn't have to be completed before the signing of the map, but then, Scott, we do have to put some sort of throttle on it. So would it be before a building permit or before,
Prior to CO.
prior to
Prior to
CO?
CO. That's good.
Is that, okay, sorry.
I was just questioning the utility of having the language in there that says that it can be done after the signing of the map, as to whether that makes sense for the applicant.
Okay.
And while that might be an understanding that we have, I prefer it not be on the resolution. But I would like it, if it's conceivable, to put an outside time frame of within, say, 6 months, that those districts will be formed.
So you don't want to change it to say prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy?
You're looking for a time.
I think we're fine with 6 months. You just want to have a timeline within
That's
6
what-
months?
That's what you're seeking.
So
That'll
are
be
you
well
still
before the
asking for
CO.
it to be before the signing of the map?
Not as a condition on the resolution, no.
So,
We're fine with a 6-month timeline.
The language as is, just within the 6 months.
that's going to keep it as a condition that's required prior to the signing of the map, if I don't add something that says it's not required prior to the signing of the map.
How
I just
about-
want to be very clear, because I don't want there to be a
Yep. No, I was just-
misunderstanding.
How
Right,
about-
no, and you should add that as well, that they can sign the map.
Okay.
But the condition is this will be done in 6 months' time.
But
Okay,
Because what she's saying is that otherwise you can't get your map signed.
right.
okay. All right.
And you're going to reach a point you need to have that map signed.
This wouldn't hold up proceeding with the issuance of an NOI for the foundation work, though?
No.
Correct. Okay,
No.
that's great.
Two different things.
Yep. Number 4, we just want to...
Yes, then we're in agreement.
All
Yeah,
right,
we're in
so-
agreement.
So I just want you to hold
Yep.
for a second. So Scott, we're going to say, formation of water and sewer districts on Route 52 by the town board and appropriate water and sewer easements for public water and sewer lines as required, subject to the approval and satisfaction of the town engineer and town attorney, expected to be completed by what date? Is it June 30th? Is it April 30th? Is it?
April 30th, I guess, huh? That would be 6 months.
I don't
That
know
would be
what the
6 months,
time.
right?
Is
April
April
30th
30th?
April
So
30th works.
I'm
April
saying
30th.
expected to be completed.
Right.
Because we don't know exactly what it will be, but is that sufficient?
That's certainly our goal.
Okay. And I'm going to just add an additional sentence that says, this condition shall not prevent the signing of the map.
Yes.
Okay. Is that acceptable, Chris?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
We just want to clarify on item number 4. Do you want this dedication on the subdivision plat now, or do you want us to do a separate map after the CO and you've approved all the work?
Well, it's an offer of dedication, but it would be like a road. It won't be accepted until the work is done.
Okay.
But it's an area offered to be dedicated.
Okay. So that's how we'll handle that. We need to make that modification on our plan.
Yeah, that's got to be.
Is this also going to trigger, this should also trigger easements back to you upon dedication, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
which is for the snow storage and the stormwater maintenance of the pond.
Okay.
Well-
So, and I don't think we have this anywhere. Do we capture somewhere, maybe, Joe, is that in your letter, that's one of the easements that needs to be created? It's going to be for your benefit, but you own it now. Once you dedicate it, you're going to need an easement back, so that you can.
Correct. We're going to need an easement for,
It's in here.
easement and agreement, because we not only have to maintain the stormwater pond, we're responsible for maintaining the vegetation and the landscape.
But not the formation.
What I'm going to add then to this is just that agreements and easements to be in a form acceptable to the town attorney.
That's fine.
Yes, that's perfect.
And is this something that needs to be done, the map change needs to be done prior to the signing? Do the agreements and easements need to be completed
Prior to the
prior to
subdivision
the signing of the
plat.
map?
Yeah.
Prior to the subdivision plat.
So that everybody understands exactly
Yes.
what's going to
Absolutely.
happen? Okay. All right. Okay.
Number 9, just for own clarification, you're referring to what we believe to be the existing 10-inch line there?
It runs back to the
Yeah.
storage tank through
Okay.
the edge of the fields there.
Yep, just wanted to, Dan asked that question, I just want to provide clarification for him. Number 13, an environmental.
And just on that note, it doesn't necessarily have to be prior to site work commencing. It can be while site work is commencing.
You got that, it's that existing line. It's the existing 10-inch line that we talked about the other day. Okay. So, number 13, an environmental monitor shall be on site as needed, but at least 2 times per week. An escrow for the monitor shall be established in the amount as calculated by the town engineer.
And this was the escrow I was speaking of before. Excuse me for
Yeah.
the confusion.
So we're trying to understand, the applicant has a responsibility through the construction speedies permit, since it's over 5 acres of disturbance, to have it
Right,
monitored twice a week.
right.
He's paying a site inspection fee, and then he's paying a additional escrow.
Right, that's our policy, in order for us to allow you to exceed the 5 acres. Anytime you get below the 5 acres, you don't have to have that monitor. But when you're over 5 acres, that's our requirement. You
We have a
environmental-
representative of the town that also comes out and inspects in addition to what's required through your permitting.
I guess the only question we have is if we're already paying a site inspection fee of 5% of site work, is it fair to include an additional escrow for that when we already have, I know you have that requirement, but we're going to have a speedies requirement for site inspection twice also?
You can have an inspector on site.
Yeah, that's how it's been on every project.
They're
Every
not the
project
same-
has inspection fees, and in some cases, they have an environmental monitor fee if they're exceeding the 5 acres.
And they're not the same inspectors, just to, I mean,
Correct.
there's a third party that comes
It's a
in as an
third-party
environmental
contract.
monitor for the town.
We wanted to inquire because it's these fees are not insignificant in the scheme of things.
Do we have an
Now,
estimate for
I
that?
will say, in the case of other projects, those applicants have requested that the frequency be diminished once they've established a good track record, and we've worked with those applicants if they've established a good track record. So
I
will
just want to
offer that
emphasize
too.
the good track record that
Right.
needs to be established, though,
Right.
because
Right.
these are, when you're moving that much dirt and we can have
Right.
bad weather and things like that, we want to make sure we're on top of it.
Right, we'll go out of our way to make sure that's the case.
So,
I'm just going to throw this out there just for the sake of throwing it out there. But since it's a third-party inspector and it's not the town and it's not their representative, can that individual just be responsible for the inspections? As opposed to Dan retaining his own inspector and then you have a third-party inspector? Can he just be that inspector where he files the reports with the town and copies everybody? It's just a significant cost that our applicant has brought up, and
I guess my only concern would be that we would expect the person to be inspecting on behalf of the town. And the town may impose corrections and things that are different than what might happen as a result of your inspection, permitting inspections. So,
yeah, we haven't
Scott,
done
I
that
would
on
look.
any other project, nor if it hasn't been requested on any other project, so it's.
We have
This is
some
a
fairly
unique
large
project, so I'd throw
projects
it out.
where we have both of these running. What we have had happen on several of our other projects, so we're large projects and we get that track record, like Scott mentioned, is we have allowed the inspectors to go every other time, so to speak, so as long as we get copies of those other inspections, but again, not up front. We normally have the town's inspector there.
have we, do we have an idea of what the weekly fee is?
Walker doesn't have to go on the phone, no.
I don't,
What I
the
was
job
saying,
hasn't been spec'd out.
what I was saying was that if, the only problem with that is that if it was under 5 acres, there wouldn't be any inspector.
Understood.
So that,
Well, there may be permitting,
Right.
but
right.
the town wouldn't
But
require it.
but I'm saying
I
if we
did.
use the same inspector, and it's our inspector.
My concern is I want somebody out there representing the town.
Right.
Making sure that things are happening the way we're expecting them to be happen. And that's what we've done with most of our large projects where we're moving this much earth.
The average weekly fee on that for the bi-weekly inspections by roundabout, the applicant's inquiring. I'm just
Just any guidance anybody has on what that average is.
Pam, is it, I'm going to say, I mean, it's
I'm trying to think what his billable rate
Like-
is. And you're looking at
a couple hundred.
1 or 2 hours a
inspection.
week. I don't know if it's 125. No, see, it's between 100 and 125,
Per inspection, I think.
and it's typically like an hour per visit, so you could be looking at twice a week for however long you're greater than 5 acres.
That's fine. That's
$300? Okay.
We understand.
Okay.
Number 19, if the study, it says, it talks about an applicant shall pay their fair share of a corridor study along Route 52 in the sum of $9,000. If the study is not done within 2 years following the final CO, this condition expires. Just assuming the money's then refunded to the applicant.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
your
paid up
choice if
front?
you
Is
want to
that the
put,
idea?
it's your choice if you want to pay it up front or bond it or whatever. I mean, it's up to you.
Okay. To the extent it is paid up front and the 2 years expires without the study, is there a refund of the?
It's refunded to you.
Okay.
Can I ask where the $9,000 figure came from?
Sure. We estimated the cost of doing a quarter study, and then we took all the people, the current applicants that are in front of the board, and we calculated some peak hour traffic generation from each of those sites and distributed it accordingly. So
Okay, what was the total cost?
the total cost is about $20,000.
So it's a condition.
The domes portion was about 45% of that.
Okay.
Yeah, we accepted that at the last public hearing. We agreed to that.
Okay.
No issues. The refundability resolves the query.
Do you want me to add something in there? This condition expires and any funds held will be refunded?
That's
Yes.
fine, thank you.
Sure. I would also
Yeah, that's it.
say if the cost of the study is less than expected, obviously there might be a rebate as well, but I can't promise that.
We like your thinking.
I think you probably should say.
There's also the
Well,
potential.
there's an intent here to
more
make
applicants.
money off this. This is just specifically
No,
to
no.
offset a direct
Understood,
cost.
understood.
There may be the potential that there's another applicant that would come in, and then, that it might be distributed in a different way in the future.
Right.
In number 23, the applicant shall provide a bond to restore the roadway South Drive at the time of the dedication. Is this the portion of the roadway located within the Sports Dome parcel? And
Yes.
our understanding is that work, that's in terms of the restoration, is a mill and place a new top course there?
So Scott, this wasn't for the,
We have not inspected that road, so
but what,
conceptually, that might be the scope of it, but until we walk it, I mean, if there's other deficiencies, they'd have to be corrected. We have not, I mean, if you want to hold off on this and do a study of the road prior to moving forward, we could do that. Try to nail it down a little tighter, but we have not done that.
And the
And
requirement
it's not
for
to
the,
say, in addition, what your construction activities
but
might
when
Correct,
you
we
say
understand
the
the road
roadway, I
between
anticipate,
now and then.
but when you say the roadway here, I thought you meant the entire South Road, from
They
Rothel
would
down
be,
to
they would be
Limekiln.
responsible for.
Only
their
what we
portion.
own.
maybe we can add that as well.
It would be their portion. And the
Okay.
applicant
And
should
their
be
portion would
clarified,
be-
and again, the applicant should be clarified to be Hopewell Sports Ventures for
Yes.
that portion of it.
But their portion goes to include just to their edge of their property, or beyond to where their extended parking agreement lies, or what is?
We don't own beyond our, beyond that easement.
Okay, so you,
We would
so
go-
you're taking on ownership of a portion of South Road?
Correct, within our
All right.
property boundaries.
Okay, and does this also need to cover the cattle crossing?
I think
Yes.
it's in here.
It's in here.
That's in a earlier paragraph.
Okay, all right,
We didn't have a
okay.
query to that.
But this is pursuant to a dedication to the town, correct?
Correct.
Yes,
South Drive at the time of dedication.
At
is
time
in
of
that
At time of
paragraph.
dedication, okay. Just making sure.
okay.
We did the same.
So we'll add at time of dedication and along the ownership by Hopewell Sports Dome. Oh, only. Okay.
Okay.
Was
Yes.
the parking discussed? Came in late.
Nope, we haven't discussed that yet.
Okay.
The next
Yeah.
one,
So,
final landscape and lighting plan, PKI.
Yes.
You guys all right with that, or do you want to, or the board?
yeah, we understand the intent with trying to establish some similar fixtures along the Route 52 corridor.
Similar
There-
fixtures, and it looked like we didn't have some
Yes.
landscaping keys on your map to know
Yep.
exactly what plantings you were recommending, so we need to have that information, and they still need to approve that plan.
And that's what AKRF is expecting and will hold them accountable to.
Yes, we had a meeting about this.
Chris, you have any other items?
No, actually, the subdivision mapping, there was a reference to it on, I think, page 2. Thought that, we'd sent a revised one in earlier today, trying to capture some of the easements that we had discussed last week
So we're revised
to the
through
21st.
October 21st?
Top of page 2,
Revised through October 21st?
Yes.
I'm sorry, you guys have not had a chance to look at a map dated October 21st. Are you comfortable with us saying that we're approving a map done through October? I don't think we can do that.
I don't think we do it either.
My letter about the landscaping and lighting was through plans that were dated September 15th. So those were the last ones I saw for the landscaping and the lighting. I'm assuming it's the same plan, but I don't know that for certain.
Brendan, what about you? What set of plans did you review?
It was actually,
Yeah.
some of the plans that I reviewed were October 2nd.
October 2nd? Joe, do you know what, your letter says, right?
Most of them were September 15th, but then there was one or two in there that said October 2nd. But I think the overall plan said September 15th, the cover sheet.
Yeah.
I don't like us saying we're approving plans that our professionals haven't had a chance to review.
Understood.
yet. So I'm uncomfortable with that.
Okay.
I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but
Agreed.
not knowing what's in there, I don't know whether it's,
September 15th, I think is the date. You guys good with that?
It sounds like some of
Yes,
them are even
we are.
October 2nd, but
We're okay with that.
I don't think the changes are,
it doesn't mean that the October 1 changes don't fly, it just means that until we actually review them, they're not technically, I don't want to
Part of the
approve them
approval.
through this resolution. So September 15th, 2014 is the earliest plan sheets that have been reviewed by everybody, or latest plan sheets reviewed by everyone. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Chris, any other changes we need to watch?
no, thank you very
All right,
much.
I think what we want to do is add a whereas between the first and, no, let's see, I'm just trying to figure out where we add the whereas that says that Brightland Solar LLC is a party to this application only for the subdivision.
You might be able to just write name of applicant under it where it says name of site plan.
Town engineer.
Then maybe just put name of applicant, Hopewell Sportstone Ventures LLC. And then under name of subdivision, name of applicant, you have the two of them. Maybe that would suffice.
There's one other thing that I overlooked.
But how, and I'm sorry, hold that thought one
Go
second,
ahead.
Chris, but how do I make sure that this is clear that these conditions, which conditions are the requirement of Hopewell Sportstone Ventures
We have to
versus?
spell it as we go through. I think
All
as
right,
we
we're
go
gonna have to
through,
say
we're
it
going
on
to
every
spell
one
it
of
out.
them? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Call them A and B or something.
And I'm sorry, Chris, you had something else?
Yeah, in the town engineer's letter, the one dated October 17th,
Yep.
regarding the site plan subdivision, comment number 12, a minimum 50-foot access easement with future rights for dedication of a through road along the current alignment of South Drive.
Right.
There was some discussion with the town attorney that a 50-foot access would infringe upon the ball fields and the cattle crossings. And our understanding was we were going to do a 2-foot offset in locations outside the curb line where we're adjacent to the ball fields.
When you say 2-foot offset, we're still maintaining the 50 feet that wasn't going to be centered?
It wasn't going to be centered.
So
it's gonna
off
be
edge
50
of,
feet.
2 foot off edge of pavement or 2 foot?
2 feet off of edge of curb line. And in some locations, we couldn't meet the 50-foot requirement. For example, at the cattle crossing, the town attorney said he just wanted along the curb lines at that location. He didn't want a full 50-foot swath.
Here's my only, I guess my initial concern, maybe not my only concern, but for things like snow plowing, we can't promise that snow is not going to throw further than 2 feet off a curb line. So you'd have to have the easement in place so that the town can do what it might need to do for maintenance of that road, for maintenance during storms and things like that. So I guess I would have concern if we're limited to only 2 feet off a curb
How
line.
about just adding something, or, unless otherwise.
I mean, I don't think the ball fields would be in use in the event
They're
of
not,
snowstorm, so.
they're not in use during the snow, so we don't have a problem giving an easement for that snow storage. It's just dedicating certain areas
Not
which
the
impact the
dedication.
ball
Okay.
fields.
I think that was going to be a kind of an oddity location because
Correct.
they were planning to use the cattle crossing as kind of a hook between the two other lots. So
Correct.
there was going to be some other easement that goes over after dedication that allows you access through the crossing. So it's kind of a peculiar area, no matter how we do it.
We just want the notation on the letter.
Joe, do you see an issue, though, if the dedication is narrower, as long as there's an easement sufficient to provide any future maintenance needs? Or to
In those areas where it's less than 50
meet the
feet.
future maintenance?
Yeah, in those
needs of the
areas where
town?
it's less than 50 feet. But we just can't do it.
No, not really, as long as there's some other way of providing for what essentially turns into a 50-foot right-of-way.
What are you thinking the width is going to be? I mean,
Well, at that one location, we were at 40 feet, right, almost 40 feet. We're at the cattle crossing.
And the limiting factor was the edge of the ball field, or what was the?
Well, at that one, that was 40 feet, and then at other locations was, there was a retaining wall for the ball field.
On South Drive?
On
still?
South Drive, yeah. So pushing the retaining wall out shrinks the...
You can't just shift to 50 feet over?
Then
Offset
you're
it?
going into the parking on the opposite side. You want to go into the curb islands, and we can go into the islands then on the opposite side, if that's the way you want to handle it. Just gets tight around that cattle crossing area.
So you had the discussion with Tom, and he said 2 feet?
He said 2 feet, and at the cattle crossing, he wanted to do curb to curb.
And I'm saying edge of pavement, and you're saying curb. Is this road actually curved all the way through?
At that location, it's going to be curbed.
Can I say beyond the curb or edge of pavement?
Yeah,
Just so that
beyond.
if we don't, I don't want to,
I mean, we'll try to maintain a minimum, but we just need a little flexibility in the way in which we dedicate this roadway.
Couldn't it just be the usable area, not limited to 2 feet, but if the wall is 8 feet off, you might as well get a full 8
Usable area, I
feet.
can use usable area, I know there's some areas I can't do the 50 feet, that's why.
You good with that, Scott?
It's almost like I'd rather keep the 50 feet and just do a minor amendment after the fact, once we get our arms exactly around what they need.
What's there?
Just do a minor amendment, rather than just doing like a blanket.
so
anything without-
Scott, here's what I wrote. See if this works, and if it doesn't, then minor amendment, fine. But for the South Road dedication, in areas where the 50-foot standard width cannot be met, the road width shall be 2 feet beyond the curb or edge of pavement. In those areas, an easement providing sufficient area for the town to maintain the road will be granted.
Sounds reasonable.
Does that work?
Well, you're locking them into something there, so.
What? Well, we need to make sure the town can maintain the road.
Well, I'm
I don't
saying you're
wanna-
locking them into something there where Scott,
Yeah, but she's covering the base.
is she covering it? All
I
right,
think
I
she's
just want
covering
to
the
make sure
base.
she's covering
Yeah.
everything you need to cover,
Yeah.
that's all.
Okay, that's why I'm asking. Was that
You were okay
sufficient
with
for?
that?
It is.
Okay. All right. Any other items, Chris?
That was it.
Okay, so we have a couple things that I think were not captured that we need to add. And Mike, I'm going to ask if you can talk to this, the fencing or the netting for the outdoor fields next to the adjoining property owner that had the concern about cars in his building. What was the agreement for that?
The agreement was that
we
that was
resolved
going
it.
to be all netted and
Yep, a total of 30-foot high.
30-foot high
fence.
for openers. With the agreement that if that somehow it gets through, then
Yes.
you'll do the rest with it.
Right.
So outdoor fields
It will be taken care of.
on the west side of the property
Correct.
will have a minimum 30-foot
30-foot high.
netting.
It's going to be a 15-foot fence and 15-foot of netting on top of it. They also asked for a 6-foot high windscreen along the perimeter of the field fences as well, the neighbor did.
Okay. We had also talked about in some of our prior meetings, I don't know if we covered it last time, to have an ability, if that's not high enough, to revisit this over the course of a year after your CO.
Right.
Yes.
Was that?
And will be taken care of, and you guys will make reparations for any damages
Well,
done.
it would be monitored on an annual basis as opposed to just a year, because I don't know if things
No,
might
I-
change as they go on.
I have to believe that they're denting their neighbor's roof, that it'll be taken care of like right away.
What I heard was what's going to monitor for 1 year.
We originally
For us,
said a
for 1
year
year.
from the CO, we would monitor it. If we want to go longer, or we need to make it an annual, whatever is
But just so
appropriate.
we're clear, I mean, you're going to have a CO on a structure, which doesn't mean that those fields are open and running yet. The field could be open some period of time later, so I don't know, and we're not going to issue a CO, I don't think, for the field itself. So tying it to such a short duration, 1 year after the
Okay.
CO, the field may only be open for a couple months.
So you want to say from the opening of the field, a year from the opening of the field? We're fine with that.
I'd rather say 2 years myself.
But that's fine, too. 2 years is fine, too.
Yeah, we just,
There's a problem.
Just to
I
get
believe you're gonna-
plenty of time to get up and running.
No problem.
You're gonna know the first week.
We'll be recruiting the next Babe Ruth anyway, so if he's knocking it over those 30-foot fences, we're going to have to figure out how to fix that.
yeah, for the benefits of the planning board chairperson, we met with the applicant we met with the neighbor next door, and we reviewed this. We explained to him that we would be obligated for any repairs or damages that occur on their property, and in the event that there's a frequency of like occurrences, like maybe twice a year, we would revisit with the site architect, sports architect, revisiting of the fence to 35 to 40 feet. So,
Okay. Just because equipment gets better and things like that, so people hit further, is that what we're saying?
Perhaps.
Just one thing we threw out there now, you've met with Central Hudson as far as, because you're in close proximity to the overhead?
We've met with Central Hudson, we've forwarded them copies of our plans. The dialogue that we've had to date is that they're going to meet with their other utility carriers. In the event that they have to relocate their electric line along the central corridor of the easement, they would be willing to do that. They just haven't given us back the final plans for that.
I just think one thing we don't want is down the road, they say no, and now you can't put up the fence, and now we're in that situation. So, and if that were to occur, you'd have to come back to the planning board and figure out.
Well, if you can't,
what
right,
the
if you
other
can't
options
install
are.
it according to your site plan, you'd have to come back.
We'd have to come back. And
Yeah, the netting is, yeah, understood.
All right, so I have outdoor fields on the west side of the property will have a 15-foot fence and 15 feet of netting for a total of 30 feet. Within 2 years of the start of the use of the fields, this condition may be changed. So again, if it needs to go higher, whatever the experience is.
I
that
would
way.
say it will be monitored and adjusted if deemed necessary by the town engineer.
This condition, okay, so within 2 years of the start of use of the fields, say it again, Scott, I'm sorry, I didn't,
It will be monitored. Let's say the performance of that netting system will be monitored
okay,
and adjusted if deemed necessary by the town engineer.
that sounds much better. Will be monitored and adjusted if deemed necessary.
Lori, Chris mentioned a 6-foot windscreen. I'm not clear
Yes.
where is that within the 15-foot of fence there'd be?
That is from elevation 0 up 6 feet.
So you'll
Okay.
put slats or something, or do something to ensure that?
It was solid. It was a solid windscreen
okay.
to go along
Just
with
tell
it.
them what the intent is. I think
Yeah,
that'd be helpful.
the neighbor asked, he was concerned about individuals parking on their property and watching the game, so that was a preventive measure.
Okay,
no freebie watching from across the road.
got it? Okay. All right, and then, let's see, we already talked about changing the name on your plan. How about other members of the board? Have you had a chance to read through, and was there anything else that we didn't cover?
I just had a question about the parking.
Sure.
The shared parking, is there going to be an agreement with, was it Brightling?
Brightland Solar?
Yeah, Brightling.
There already is. There's a pre-existing agreement that was presented to the town attorney quite some time ago that was
So
entered into.
you'll be upgrading their parking?
Yes, the areas that are part of the overflow parking, we're responsible for any upgrades that are necessary.
And maintaining it as well?
Correct.
Yes.
And if
That'll be in the easement.
Brightling
plan.
Solar
Does that
actually,
easement exist, or it's to
No, that's one of the
exist?
listed easements.
I think it's item 2, right?
Right,
Okay.
item 2.
Okay.
now, if that factory opens up and they're using that parking, is there going to be a conflict there?
No, because we had our agreement requires them to provide us with those 500 spaces, so they.
Regardless of if they're employing 800 people?
Well, then they have their own parking issues.
They'll be coming in
somewhere
for
else.
site plan, and they will have already given up 500 spaces that they'll have to account for in some fashion.
Okay, I just,
This agreement's going to apply to them as well when they come in.
all right, and
Yeah,
they're
we won't
aware of
forget,
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your cleaning contractor starting?
I'm sure the planning board has some discretion if they think the time or the usage
No, I'm sure, yeah, because they're not going to be using that
fluctuates.
parking all the time
Maybe
anyway,
they
so.
can be shared to some degree, I mean, you'll have that discretion.
And they'll be plowing it?
Yes,
Okay,
they're responsible for plowing it.
okay. All right, that was my only question.
Okay. And Joe, did we catch everything preliminary and final resolution of subdivision, site plan approval, special permit, fill permit, and MS4 approval?
Yeah, I believe that's all the different requirements. I think MS4 approval is referring really to the SWIP or the NOI being acknowledged.
Okay.
Which
So you're making
some
a
of it's in
conditional
here.
approval, and there's some conditions both in your memo and in this document. Are we comfortable we've covered everything we need to?
One of our meetings, I think we talked about, well, we're planning to have a sit-down meeting, go through in some detail the construction phasing so that we'll allow them to do some of that initial foundation work.
They've got a site contractor on board now, so that we can discuss details of how they're planning to approach the grading and foundation, and we thought it'd be best to sit down with the town engineer and the site engineer so that we can refine the plans according to their construction sequence.
Okay. Do we need to require that the construction phasing has been finalized before we're signing the map? Because I don't
I
think
think we're
remember
working toward doing that, yes. But we also had talked about maybe in exchange for the town accepting the NOI, they might give the town back an acknowledgement that says they understand some of the further details are going to be worked out kind of as they go up to a certain point.
Correct.
And then, at least that way it's documented.
Yeah,
Just
but
to summarize, and in the grand scheme of things, globally, the SWIP's acceptable. It's, they have actual, details within the site to work out, certain
Correct.
analysis that has to be done, certain sizing has to be done. It
Yeah.
doesn't affect the overall scheme.
doesn't affect the scheme, but what we
But
want
it's
to
just-
solidify is that
Right.
for sequencing, that we've got the appropriate erosion and sediment control measures in place for the initial construction.
So I'm just asking, do we need a condition that says that the phasing of the construction, because normally those are sheets on the plan they're layers of the plan, so are we
Yeah.
requiring that prior to signing of the map?
There are those types of details, but it sounds like they're in the process of looking at some modifications.
Correct.
And I think that there were some, well, he mentioned construction trailers and the batch plant. There's various things that are in the resolution that are items we need to work out.
They're in your letter.
And they're in my letter
They're current in the letter and the
also.
resolution already.
Yeah, so it's probably, I think it's well covered enough.
Okay.
Yeah, 12 talks about the grading and foundation may be issued prior to all conditions being satisfied at the town, at the town engineer discretion.
Okay.
Well, if you want to add to that, just for everybody's comfortable, that which includes the construction sequencing, maybe that will put everybody at ease. Number 8.
Where do you think that would go?
Under number 12.
Yeah.
We can add that the town engineer will sign off on the construction sequencing as presented by the applicant prior to issuance of the MS4 form. That gives everybody a level of comfort. Plus, it's the right thing to do.
And Joe, I apologize, I was writing a different condition. What was the change?
I think Chris might have to repeat that one.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Chris.
Well, final phasing, right?
Yeah.
Final phasing of the work.
Final construction phasing to be approved by the town engineer prior to issuance of the MS4 acceptance form. That'll be the first sentence of number 12, and then you can follow with what you have there already.
Prior to the issuance of the MS4 acceptance
Form.
form. Okay.
SWIP acceptance form.
Yeah, and
SWIP acceptance form or MS4 acceptance form?
SWIP.
SWIP, it-
Okay. Do all of you have your forms signed? Do you need forms signed? Okay. You can come on up.
Ready to walk out.
Can we start reading?
No, we need to cover with Michelle. Special permit conditions. Are there any that we need to cover here that haven't already been covered? From the new law? Because originally we had said the town board was going to issue the special permit. Now
Right.
we're issuing it through this
Correct.
resolution. So I just want to make sure if there were any additional special conditions, sorry, any additional conditions for the special permit that we include them.
No, there was fees, which is covered, and the community benefit agreement, which is covered,
Okay.
and the parking, which is covered, and that's about it. Then it was all related to the uses and the setbacks, so everything else is covered.
Okay. Okay. Brendan, anything else from your perspective that we need to consider before Mike offers the resolution?
I think everything is included in my final letter.
Okay. Michelle, anything else from your perspective?
No.
Okay. Scott or Joe?
We touched on it before, the stormwater management or maintenance. We think maybe number 4 should maybe more clearly state the formation of a stormwater maintenance district somehow.
So we
I'm sorry?
added a sentence to number 4?
Well, it already
Similar,
has.
similar to the
yeah.
water and sewer districts, we're going to be forming a stormwater district.
Yeah.
I thought we had that in there.
It does, it says agreements and easements are subject to the approval of the town attorney.
Bear with me.
What are you asking for, Joe?
And number 4, we were talking about
Right.
clarifying the stormwater maintenance district needing to be formed.
Okay, so subject to approval of the town attorney and the town board?
And formation of the district.
Stormwater maintenance district.
The stormwater maintenance district.
Okay.
You want to put in parentheses, to be formed,
To be okay.
something to that effect.
Stormwater maintenance district to be formed by the town board? I'm sorry, Mike, let me run that back, just bear with me.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so stormwater area on Route 52 to be dedicated to the town for inclusion in a stormwater maintenance district to be formed by the town board with reservations, limited rights, with the reservations, limited rights for the applicant to landscape and maintain the plantings and for certain snow disposal purposes. Agreements and easements are subject to the approval of the town attorney.
Do we need an of reservations of limited rights or something? Yeah.
Those are the reservations of limited rights, okay?
And that applicant in that paragraph, that's, I guess you'll do that on each one.
We're going to do
That's
that
the
on each one as
applicant
we go, and these guys are going to keep us honest as we do that. And you guys will tell us if we get it wrong.
Okay,
Deal?
so do I have to, is this going to be like a refrain?
Start at the top.
You guys sing the, you guys sing the refrain, and away we go. And final draft, preliminary and final resolution, subdivision approval, site plan approval, special permit, fill permit, MS4 approval. Name of the site plan is Hopewell Sports Dome Ventures LLC. Name of the applicant, wait a minute. You didn't cross this out. Name of the applicant or name of the subdivision?
Name of the applicant will be Hopewell Sports Dome Ventures LLC and Brightland Solar LLC for the
Okay.
site plan. Then you have name of subdivision,
subdivision.
Kingdom,
No.
and the name of that applicant.
You got it.
The two of them is
Oh, would I have them
subdivision.
switched?
Yeah, okay. All right.
I knew this is going to be a long one.
Okay, so, Name of the subdivision is Kingdom, part of the filed map number. Name of the applicants, Hopewell Sportstone Ventures LLC and Brightland Solar LLC. Location, 2 Auditorium Drive in New York State Route 52, formerly the West Complex. Resolution offered by Planning Board member Michael O'Brien. Whereas the applicants have applied for a 2-lot subdivision and a site plan approval for the dome structure in accordance with Article 9 of the zoning law, and whereas the town board has declared lead agency in June 2014, on September 25th, 2014, adopted a negative declaration, the terms and conditions of which are incorporated by reference herein, and whereas this board conducted many discussions about the project and held formal public hearings on August 19th, September 16th, and October 7th, and whereas the applicants have submitted a final subdivision map and site plan, and the board determines that both submissions are in substantial agreement with prior submissions and incorporate various comments and changes so that no further public hearings are required, and further finds the application meets the town's requirements for final subdivision and site plan approval, subject to the conditions set forth below. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the planning board hereby grants both preliminary and final subdivision approval for the above subdivision as represented on a map entitled Subdivision for Kingdom, dated January 14, 2014, and revised to September 15, 2014, by Chazen Engineering. And be it further resolved that the planning board hereby issues site plan approval for the above project as represented on a map entitled Kingdom Hopewell Sports Ventures LLC.
Get rid of Kingdom.
Take out
Pardon?
Kingdom.
Kingdom space, or just take out, okay. Hopewell Sportstone Ventures LLC, dated May 27th, 2014, and revised through September 15th, 2014 by Stephen Trinkus, P.E. And be it further resolved that a special permit pursuant to Article 9 of the zoning code for a large-scale indoor-outdoor recreation facility is granted subject to the conditions hereof. And be it further resolved that in accordance with Article 194.75 of the town code, an excavation permit is granted for filling as shown in the approximate amount of 7,100 cubic yards. And be it further resolved that the stormwater pollution prevention plan submitted herein is accepted and conditionally approved. And be it further resolved that all site inspection and building fees in the amount as calculated by the town engineer are due upon signing of the site plan or building permit as required before any work commences. And be it further resolved that no work shall commence on the site unless and until all conditions are resolved unless otherwise set forth herein. And be it further resolved that the following conditions will be complied with before the maps are signed unless otherwise noted herein. 1, all comments in the following consultant letters will be satisfied. Morris Associates, SWIP dated October 17th, 2014, site plan dated October 17th, 2014, B, HVEA dated October 17th, 2014, C, AKRF dated October 17th, 2014. 2, a permanent parking easement on adjoining parcel in the form of satisfactory to the town attorney. 3, formation of a water and sewer district on Route 52 by town board and appropriate water and sewer easements for public water and sewer lines as required, subject to the approval and satisfaction of the town engineer and the town attorney. This is expected to be completed by 4/30, and this condition shall not prevent the signing of the map. 4, stormwater area on Route 52 to be dedicated to the town for inclusion in the stormwater maintenance district to be formed by the town board with the reservation of limited rights for the applicant to landscape and maintain the plantings and for certain snow disposal purposes. Agreements and easements are subject to the approval of the town attorney.
Should we mention I'm sorry, Mike, should we mention that their applicant there is Hopewell Sportstone Ventures in number 4?
Okay.
And we need to actually do that for each one of these where there's,
Refers to the applicant, yep.
so did we do that for the first couple?
No.
Let's just make sure we do that as we go.
Okay, the applicant, Hopewell Sports Venture to landscape and maintain the plantings for certain snow disposal purposes. 5, reciprocal easement over South Drive for both the front and rear parcel owner of the town of East Fishkill, being a third-party beneficiary to allow for dedication in the future as a public road. And prior to dedication, a pedestrian under-road crossing will be installed by the applicant, Hopewell Sportstone Ventures. Either the town, the applicant, or the rear parcel owner can trigger dedication. 6, stormwater maintenance agreements for on-site stormwater facilities with owners of both the front and rear lots. 7, emergency access at end of South Drive and Auditorium Drive over rear lot at the end of the parking easement. 8, written approvals of the Dutchess County Department of Health for filing of subdivision map and signing of site plan. 9, applicant agrees.
So again, are we making sure that which of these applies to which applicants?
This applicant is Hopewell Sports Dome Ventures in number 9.
So the
This
filing-
applicant, Hopewell Sports Dome, agrees to explore prior to site work commencing for the location of a 10-inch water line in the vicinity of South Drive on Route 52, the property line, and to consider easement therefore to the town, the same is not within the road right of way. 10, removal of snow and ice as part of an operation plan must be reviewed and approved by the town engineer and incorporated in the stormwater waste management plan. 11, SWIP must receive final approval of the town engineer. Next sheet. Okay. Not that we're making it up as we go. 12, the final construction phasing to be approved by the town engineer prior to the issuance of the SWIP acceptance form. NOI for grading and foundation construction may be
Notice
issued.
of intent, we need to write that out.
Do we? Notice of intent, a notice of intent for grading and foundation construction may be issued prior to all conditions being satisfied at the owner's risk after subdivision map is filed at the town engineer's discretion. We don't need to break out who's the owner, right?
We should on every condition because the applicants aren't the same.
I know the applicant, but who's the owner? Do we fill out who's the owner?
No, I think you're right, because after the subdivision plat's filed, they are the owner.
Okay. See, the applicant, I got it, but the owner is going to be charged with the notice of intent. Environmental monitors shall be on site as needed, but at least 2 times per week. An escrow for the monitor shall be established in the amount as calculated by the town engineer. 14, New York State DOT sign-off on sidewalks and intersections. 15, owner shall enter into a sidewalk and lighting maintenance agreement with the town with respect to all sidewalks within public right-of-ways.
Hopewell Sports Dome Ventures.
Right. We need to spell this out on every condition.
Okay. So that's both.
So we haven't
owner-
been doing that, we've been skipping over them, but we need to make sure that that's, and you can abbreviate it HSV and Brightland or something like that.
Okay, but the owner is exclusively Hopewell Sports Ventures, right? LLC. Owner,
That will be post-map filing, and most of these conditions are pre-map filing.
okay. Owner, HSB LLC, will enter into a community benefit agreement as approved by the town board. In consideration of this, the $6,000 rec fee has been waived. 17, all signage on the site, with the exception of traffic and directional signs on the site interior, are subject to compliance with the town's signal sign law and further approval. 18, applicant shall post a bond with the town in the sum of $150,000 to ensure, applicant HSBC LLC shall post a bond with the town in the sum of $150,000 to ensure the reactivation of the traffic light at Rothel Drive or other DOT-required improvements. Said bond will be posted for 3 years from issuance of the CO. The applicant, Hopewell Sports Venture LLC, shall pay their fair share of a corridor study along Route 52 in the sum of $9,000. If the study is not done within 2 years following the final CO, this condition expires. Upon expiration or completion of the study, any unused funds will be returned to the applicant. This obligation will be appropriately guaranteed. 20, due to the unique nature of the structure, certain construction techniques will be utilized on the site that may differ from those regularly experienced. The batching and mixing of concrete on site for more continual pour, heating units, etc., are some examples. This may be allowed by the building department. 21, construction trailers will be located on the site but must be removed prior to issuance of a CO, but may remain up to 90 days thereafter if the cost of removal is bonded. 22, hours of operation shall be stated on the approved plans. However, in any case, the use of outside fields shall cease at 11 p.m. and lighting turned off within the appropriate time thereafter. The applicant, Hudson Valley Sports Dome LLC, shall provide a bond to restore the roadway to a condition acceptable to the town superintendent and town engineer, South Drive, at a time of dedication. This condition applies to the portion of South or owned
South Road.
of South Road owned by Hopewell Sports Dome Ventures LLC. 24, final landscaping and lighting plan shall be signed off by AKRF. 25, any disputes between applicant and consultants will be resolved by this board.
Each applicant.
I'm sorry, between the applicants?
Each applicant.
Each applicant.
Between each applicant. And consultants will be resolved by this board. Final sign-off by the building department and fire officials with respect to operation plan and evacuation plan. 27, any changes to the base structure of the dome must be reviewed by the Architectural Review Board. 28, applicant, Hopewell Sports Ventures LLC, must comply with all other rules and regulations of the town noise ordinance.
You might want to make that applicable to both.
I'm sorry?
28, you might want to not
Each
just limit
applicant
to
is
the
fine.
local sports event.
That's fine.
Each applicant, okay. 29, outdoor fields on the west side of the property will have a 15-foot fence with a 6-foot windscreen, above which a 15-foot net will be constructed for the total of 30 feet. Within 2 years of the start of the use, the performance of the barrier will be monitored and adjusted if deemed necessary. 30, the name on the map will be updated to remove Kingdom. 31, for the South Road dedication, in areas where the 50-foot dedication cannot be met, the road width shall be 2 feet beyond the curb or edge of the pavement. In those areas, an easement providing sufficient area for the town to maintain the road will be granted. I do believe that's it.
Any other updates or changes?
Yeah.
One thing on,
Okay, everybody's saying yes, so.
yeah, no particular order, but 5, as far as
Five?
the reciprocal easement over South Drive. The last sentence of that says that either the town, the applicant, or rear parcel owner can trigger dedication. And I think we just want to maybe tweak that a little bit. Something maybe along the lines that either the town may require, or the applicant or rear parcel owner may request dedication of that road. The applicants
Yeah.
can't force
Yeah, they can't
dedication.
force it, yeah.
The town can.
The
but
town.
The applicants can make the request.
So we're just changing the word trigger to the word request?
Well, the town, I would say either the town may require, or the applicant or parcel owner may request.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
You gotta get the applicant right again.
Yeah, the applicant.
Concerns?
It should be the applicants, I guess.
Well,
right?
Well, it said the
HSDB or rear
applicant and the
parcel
real
owner.
rear
Yeah.
parcel
Yeah.
owner?
Yeah.
Although I guess depending on timing, we can say either applicant.
Right,
Okay,
right.
got it. So either the town may require, or either applicant or or the real parcel owner
May request.
may request dedication.
Right, so we have the authority to take it or force the dedication, but they don't have the
Okay.
authority to do that.
Yeah, we might not want
They
it.
can request it, we don't have to take it.
Okay. Is that it? Did we notice, Michelle, did we catch all the places where we needed to specify each applicant?
I'm looking right now, as I'm going through here.
Did you catch it? Did you write it as you went?
I tried. Or just read it.
That's okay, we'll blame you for any mistakes.
That's fine, and I can spend my declining years on the witness stand for the resulting lawsuits.
There was one thing we discussed, I don't know if it needs to go in the resolution, and I don't know that this one item really covers it or not, but They may be doing, batching on site, other things on site. I'm not sure which item speaks to that.
I think the one that you were.
Yeah, Scott, that was 20, I think.
20.
I mean, I'm comfortable, if the board is comfortable, actually removing 20 and leaving that to the discretion of the building department. But if you think it needs to be there, if there's something else you want to call out,
Well, in addition to that, it's also the hours may also go beyond what are normal work hours, depending on what they're doing.
but that's something you need, you can't just do that, you need to work with the building department and make sure that they understand what you're doing.
Well, we actually, I don't know, we have an ordinance as far as work hours, Saturdays, Sundays, hours, and things like that, so.
So why
I
wouldn't
think
we
we also,
strike this?
I think we actually need something that permits them to go beyond those hours. That was the purpose.
In this resolution?
Well, it doesn't say anything about the
Because that's not what this says. This
I know
this
it's not
talks
what
about the
this says,
type of
and
work,
that-
not
and
the
that-
hours of operation.
And that's why I'm bringing it up, right.
So when would those extended hours and so forth be? When you're pouring, or?
The site work, yeah, it's a long.
But I mean, that wouldn't be a normal thing. You're gonna set up your pour and do your pour and.
Correct.
And
But
then-
it may go beyond the normal business day.
It can go
Right, but that would-
Tell me what
I mean,
that
you're not
means.
gonna
Is
have
that a
trucks in and out
24-hour
of site
cycle?
on Sunday. It's not that, it's the pours, I'm thinking, is that, or hanging the structure itself, it's gonna be a continuous action.
Correct. Once you start inflating, installing the structure, you can't stop.
Right.
Because it's past the work hours. So those would be the types of things that we simply wanted, and I agree, it was a good pickup that it doesn't refer to the hours issue. Just some acknowledgement here, so it paves the way for an easier conversation with the building department to make sure that gets done.
Are you good with, for those activities that are limited to being on-site, contained on-site? In other words, we won't have trucks running in 24/7, but you may be inflating your structure 24/7 or pouring concrete 24/7 on the site with site-generated concrete.
Work will be conducted on site, correct?
Assuming they
So I have actually, I would change it to, due to the unique nature of the structure, certain construction techniques will be utilized on the site that may differ from those regularly experienced. Hopewell Sportstone Ventures may request batching and mixing of concrete on site for a more continual pour, heating units, et cetera, are some examples. And then this may require construction work outside normal work hours, but would be limited to on-site activities, on-site construction activities.
Well, construction activities contained on site.
Okay, but will be limited to construction activities contained on site.
I didn't like the second sentence, but the rest of it sounded good. I don't think we need to change the second sentence.
You don't think we need the Hopewell Sportstone?
No. Due to the unique nature of the structure, certain construction techniques will be utilized on site that may differ from those regularly experienced.
The only change in that was that Hopewell Sportstone Ventures may request. The rest of it was already there.
Right, but the may request, and then it ends with are some examples, so it's not,
To say Hopewell Sportstone may request batching and mixing of concrete on site for more continual pour.
all right, then just strike are some examples.
For a continual pour, for example, or something.
Or structure, or erection of the structure.
It's getting too fancy.
I think as long as you're
I'd
contained
rather
on site
be,
and not.
Scott.
Scott, if you're getting enough complaints, it's being allowed by you. If you get enough complaints, we come asked to do it, you're gonna say, no.
It's
It
may.
may be allowed. It's just giving you the ability to.
Okay.
Well, certain things you have to.
All right, so let's just take let's leave
Because
this.
what we don't want is somebody just calling up and say they're working on a Sunday, and there's no
Right.
provision for you to work on a
Right.
Sunday.
No,
So,
it's-
Is there gonna be a schedule for these events that take time? You should have that schedule, and the town should have that schedule and know.
well, we don't have it as of yet, but we're anticipating activities like that.
At the time before it happens, the schedule should be
Yes.
put together.
Yes.
The town should be advised when these events are gonna take place.
Right, but it still has to be something that
Right.
provides for that. That's what we're trying to
All
hammer
right, so
out.
here's what we're going to do. Due to the unique nature of the structure, certain construction techniques will be utilized on the site that may differ from those regularly experienced. The hours of operation, batching and mixing of concrete on site for a more continual pour, heating units, et cetera, may be allowed by the building department.
The hours of construction, not operation, the hours of construction.
Hours of construction.
Yeah, and erection of the structure as well. It's concrete erection and structure, basically.
Actually, I would say hours of construction.
You're not going to be bulldozing on Sunday.
No.
It's concrete, it's erecting the structure. Those are the things you need.
I would say hours of construction outside normal construction hours. Because they're always allowed to construct during certain hours.
Outside normal hours. Hours of construction outside normal hours.
Well,
batching
outside,
and-
any hours outside normal construction hours, basically, however you would say that.
I'm saying it this way, the hours of construction outside normal hours, batching and mixing of concrete on site, heating units, et cetera, may be allowed by the building department in their discretion, at their discretion and under their, under their oversight.
And the assembly of the structure.
The installation of the structure, I think, is still missing.
Erection and structure. Or however you phrase it. Inflating of the structure, however you want
I
it.
wasn't trying to give the full list. I'm trying to give you discretion to decide.
But I would add that, just, it's a
Okay.
simple, obvious
Yeah,
thing.
that's
All right.
probably the most important of all.
Yeah.
For example, I mean, we're not going to inflate this thing with a
Units.
certain amount of wind, so I mean, that may go beyond, you know,
Yeah.
before we turn the blowers.
What do you, just while we're on the subject, what's the duration for inflating? What do you anticipate?
It'll take a while. Probably, what do you say, 12 hours by the time we get everything set up and inflated. I mean, you'll be at full pressure probably in 3 hours, but, you know, in order.
It's pretty short duration, actually.
Yeah, it's short. I
Yeah.
mean,
No, it'll go pretty
we're
quick.
not talking
That's-
about days here.
That's
You got
when
to that moment
we
when
flip the
that-
switch.
But that'll still be
It's gonna
outside
take a
work
month
hours.
to assemble stuff on site. A month plus.
Okay, one more time. Due to the unique nature of the structure, certain construction techniques will be utilized on the site that may differ from those regularly experienced. So same first sentence. Second sentence, the hours of construction outside normal hours, batching and mixing of concrete on site for a more continual pour, heating units, erection of the dome, et cetera, may be allowed by the building department and under their oversight. Okay? This isn't a limited list. If you need to do something different, you need to work with the building department, but if you are granted something different, the building department may come back, and if it doesn't work out, they're going to tell you to stop. Okay. Are you okay with the way that's worded?
Yeah.
Okay. Last call for any changes?
Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the planning board shall cause a copy of this resolution to be filed with the town clerk, and a copy sent to the applicant owner.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Okay, votes as follows. John Hutzko?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
John Cutler?
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
And myself, aye. The motion carries.
Go build your dome.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you all very much for all your hard work and dedication, and we hope to repay it with a fabulous structure once we work through the rest of the issues we've got to work through.
Great. If you need us along the way, if there's changes we need to make, please come back.
I'm sure we will. Thank you all very much.
Don't take us the wrong way, but let's not do this again sometime.
All right. The next item on our agenda is a discussion for Stewart's Shop site plan on Route 52.
Good evening. My name is Chuck Marshall. I'm the real estate representative from Stewart's. Does anyone want 11 by 17 copy? Easier to manage.
Something we can put up on the,
Oh, yeah, I do. I'm sorry.
I can handle that.
it's been a little while since we've seen you, so if you could give us a recap as well of anything that's happened or changed since last we saw you, that would be great too.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Pam. I'm going to send this down to you. Just can you make sure you can read my handwriting on the resolution and that everything's clear? Thank you.
Can you read your handwriting?
I can.
Okay, good.
But I won't be the one saying it.
Since the last time I was here, which was, I don't know what they call it, sketch plan or preliminary discussion, we did have a meeting with the neighbors. They provided some input. The result of that, I think, is going to be discussed. I mean, there's two alternatives that we're looking at for this project. One is the alignment that's shown currently, and one is the installation of a road.
I'm sorry, when was this meeting, Chuck? When was the meeting? Okay.
January was the last time you were in front of this board.
Yeah, I believe the,
I think it was January 9th.
yeah, sure, it was January 9th.
Okay, so that was the meeting, there wasn't a meeting since then?
No, there was not. The only, I did appear before the Architecture Review Board for, again, a preliminary discussion. And in that, we have decided to go to a hardy board building. The hardy board is kind of more consistent with the clapboard siding that is on the houses that surround the neighborhood. Again, samples of our most recent construction showing hardy board. Normally, when I do these presentations, there's kind of a path, but because I think this is going to bounce around a little bit. These photos show new Stewart's construction. It's a roughly 3,700 square foot building similar to this proposal. It is hardy board, stone on the bottom, columns, LED soffit lighting, LED canopy lighting. I know that the comments, or one of the comments from AKRF was regarding lighting. Once we get a sense of the site plan we're going to go forward with, we will submit photometric and landscaping plans that will address the neighborhood concerns. But because of the uncertainty in which of these two different site plans we're going to proceed with, we didn't do that. So I'm just going to, again, pass these out to the board.
That's fine.
While you're doing that, Michelle, I mean, you kind of ran the charrette, right? And
Well,
as I recall, the input was fairly limited.
Well, we didn't do a charrette, just to be clear.
That's right.
The residents didn't want to even break into groups. So it really was run almost more like a public hearing. It was not a public hearing, but it was almost just a question and answer.
Okay, so that was my recollection, that basically there was you guys, stewards, the applicant, were wide open to things, but there was you can't say a large degree of participation from the neighbors.
Basically, Chuck presented, and then the neighbors had a bunch of questions about it, and then they made their opinions known about what they thought of the application at the time.
I just, as we go into, I just want to make sure we keep the record straight as to, what transpired in January. Thank you. In the sense that you gave them every opportunity to talk back then.
I did.
Drafting the plan.
We did. I mean, there's been a number of versions of this that were, displayed that evening, internally reviewed, and I think, even some sent to the town. Third version of this plan, which isn't seen, shows two curb cuts on Route 52. That puts the the curb cut to the east further, closer to the culvert crossing. And I think from a DOT perspective, that would be the least favorable. I also think that without the access on Fishkill Hook Road, the neighborhood, which we're really looking to service here, would not have immediate access.
Can you repeat that, please? I'm sorry. About not having the access.
If we did 2 curb cuts on Route 52,
In which scenario?
no, in neither.
So as a
There's
third
the,
scenario,
there's
there
a,
was no curb cut on old Route
Right.
52 and only 2 on 52.
Oh, I got you.
right. And that does not work for us. In addition to which, I don't think that that would be permitted by,
I think it would create a very awkward traffic pattern.
yeah, I think people would, in essence, be going around on both sides to access the store
I don't think
and not,
that's a good idea.
right, not directly accessing the store, which is, again, why we didn't present it.
Okay.
I didn't know what a cattle crossing was when I came in here tonight, but I did know that we needed to provide the neighbors access. But I leave knowing what a cattle crossing
Tunnel that
is.
goes under the
Right.
road for pedestrian.
Because I actually had to ask them, are there cows there? I mean, but then again, I'm from like real upstate.
Well, maybe not everybody. I learned that term as well.
Right.
So.
I think in Saratoga they have cow walks across the street.
I get stuck at horse crossings for about 6 weeks. We will have 5 gas dispensers, and I'm sure you're wondering why we're going to have 5 gas dispensers, and the reason is because to meet the side and rear setbacks, we could not have a 6th. One of the gas dispensers will be a low-flow diesel dispenser. It's the 3+1, we call it. The 3 products are the multi-dispensing, your high, medium, and low octane, and then a single handle for trucks and equipment. And again, this is a low flow. This is not going to be a truck stop. This is to address the pickup truck equipment, landscaping. Now that Volkswagen, BMW, everyone is using it going more towards diesel engines. It'll be to service that market.
Okay.
I think
Does
that
every pump have all 3 options?
no, it'll just be this outside pump over here.
Okay.
And again, it's always on the outside so that if a vehicle is a pickup truck or a larger vehicle, it's not internal to the lot to restrict circulation.
With the sports dome coming and potential of buses coming, would that also work as well? Okay.
I can't address the flow situation for the low flow or high flow diesel with a bus, but I do address that we can circulate them through the lot. The truth of the matter is I don't know the answer to that, and I'm not going to try and give you an answer. I would imagine that a bus would be a low flow. I wouldn't imagine that a school has a high flow diesel pump.
Yeah, just thinking like a 55-seater bus coming in.
I would hope a bus would plan a little better than
hoping
to
to come
find diesel along the way.
But to see that the stewards and they may pull in there to. Okay.
You could say it, get ice cream. We're okay with it.
Now, the bus may want to go get ice cream. You got a good point there.
Absolutely.
In some of the comments from the consultants, the interior layout, there will be 2 customer access bathrooms. The separation amongst the aisles that you see at Lake Walton and 82 is what we'll achieve. I think that store turned out to be a great success. The coolers will be pushed back substantially further. What Stewart's calls the standard Omega will be more pronounced. There will be some additional seating. It is a larger building. One of the concerns that was mentioned was traffic generation. We use about a 50% pass-by trip generation, so we assume that it's less likely that you're going to go to Stewart's than when you are on the road you're going to stop at a Stewart's. So with that, we anticipate a 85 car generation in the morning peak, which is from 8 to 9, and 100 car in the PM. New York State DOT only has 2009 traffic data available through their website, and that would represent roughly an 11% increase in the morning and a 10% increase in the afternoon.
I'm sorry, so you said that you do foresee where people will not be just passing by, they actually leave their home to go to Stewart's and then come back?
It's about 50% of the, I mean, we assume 50% of the time.
Okay.
Even during your peak hour?
Yeah, I mean, because you're already leaving to go to work between 8 and 9 in the morning, you're going to stop at Stewart's, and you're going to stop at Stewart's now that it's there. If you're not,
You're not living that high life, Jason? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, not those hours. I mean, it's very customary. I mean, for a development of that type, I mean, there's a certain amount of traffic which is passed by volume. So, I mean, what he's basically saying though is the generation rate is more closer to 200 cars, but of those 200 cars, 100 of them are going to be coming off the road, and 100 of them are going to be newly generated traffic.
Correct.
Roughly. I wanted to ask you, Brendan, about your letter that used the phrase, a substantial increase in traffic. I mean, you guys are on the same page about this?
I'm not sure.
We're going to come to terms on the use of the word substantial. I mean, again, and when you have an 11% and a 10% for the AM and PM respectively, I think part of that also goes to the fact that I filled a portion of the long-form seeker out and exceeded. When I answered no to a question, I could have stopped, and then I continued answering questions.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So Brendan, we're saying that if this is built, 1 in 10 cars is going to stop at it during the peak hour? That seems high.
1 in 10 cars. No, I don't think that's what you're saying.
Well, when you say a 10% increase to the roadway traffic, that tells me 1 in 10, 1 in 11 is going to be stopping there.
No, well, if you look at the traffic in that area, I think it's probably around 11 or 12,000 cars a day. I don't know.
Right.
Peak hour.
Well, right now again it goes to 2009.
Right.
So the PM, the AM peak hour currently, east and westbound traffic, which here's the 2009 information for the board to use to look at.
Okay.
Actually, can you leave that to Pam and we can just get copies?
Oh.
So you could circulate it now and then make, I mean.
That's fine,
yeah.
thank you.
When you do that, the east and westbound AM combined average traffic for what DOT monitored was 785 cars in the 8 to 9 hour. And then either the 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 hour, it was 1,046 cars.
Okay. So you're going to have 100 additional cars in your PM peak hour in 1 hour at the site?
Correct.
Or is it 250% or?
Well, it's 200.
Well, it's 200.
100 in, 100 out.
Right.
And of that 100 in and 100 out, half of that is going to be from pass-by volume. So it's going to be the people that are already on the road. It's not a new trip, it's not a newly created trip. Half of the trips, I mean, what he's
Is it half
estimating.
of the 100 or is it 200? That's
No,
what
it's-
I'm just
no,
trying to understand what you're
It's
saying.
200, but half of them are not considered new trips. You don't go out to get, you don't go out to get gas, you stop to get gas because you're driving.
I 100% agree with you.
Right, so that's the mentality. Like, you're not going to leave your house to go get gas. You're going to
Try
stop.
to do that before the light comes on.
Right.
But even based on that, for the half of trips that you're generating, I would imagine 3/4 of them are probably coming from behind you.
That's what I was.
From the community behind
Potentially,
you.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that has to,
And that-
that has to be looked at.
Right, and that's an unmonitored road.
Right.
At least it was according to DOT.
Right, but I mean, there's a lot of development. They'll be the ones who'll get milk, get ice cream, get whatever.
Right,
you got.
and again, the focus of, I guess there's a misinterpretation in sorts of our application. We thought that upon submission of the application, Hudson Valley Engineers became the combined traffic consultant for the town and the applicant. We did not realize that we had to contract with Hudson Valley Engineers for the traffic impact study.
Yeah, you don't necessarily contract with us, but you would, I mean, if you wanted.
You authorize.
Yeah, you authorize us as the town consultant to complete a traffic study on behalf of the
Yeah,
project. but-
and we spoke on Friday, and hopefully I authorized.
I mean, basically, the gist of one of my comments is that the project is going to require a traffic impact study.
Agreed.
So, I mean, that's, and.
But the applicant has the option of choosing their own consultant or asking you to complete
Absolutely.
for them.
And in that
Are you,
situation,
and are you comfortable with what you're currently requesting or what's happening?
I am, because I don't want to get into a scenario where I hire a consultant, and then Brendan disagrees with my consultant, and then we go back and forth with dueling consultants, and no one really wins except the
That
consultants.
was the whole idea in the first place, to eliminate that.
Right, which is why that was why I thought that through the application fee and the escrow, it was just handled. I didn't realize that was an authorization that had to be made, but I.
Apologize if there was any miscommunication.
No,
But even if he goes out and gets another traffic consultant, Brendan
Brendan
still
will
has
still
to.
review it as the town professional.
Yeah,
Right.
so.
And if Brendan has a study that the applicant doesn't agree with, the applicant always has the right to have another consultant.
And the applicant can also provide any data that he may have for Brendan to take into consideration.
So Brendan, do you have a sense, we're looking at the 2009 numbers now, do you have a sense of how much these have changed since 2009? I know we've done a lot of counts on 52
Yeah,
recently.
not a lot.
Not a lot, it's pretty
Yeah.
stable?
I mean, I think that they're slightly increased from that, but not much.
Even when we add in the other development?
Going to have to add the dome.
Oh, well, we're adding in the dome, there's not a significant amount of dome traffic sort
The
of
Dome,
headed in that direction.
Or the Heating Associates,
But, yeah,
John Jay
they're,
Gas.
they will be added in there. So, I mean, it's something more than, I mean, it's
Stone
I thought you were talking, the question just being the base traffic. The base traffic that's out there today is a little bit higher than that, but not substantially higher.
Okay.
And then, the rest of the development that's out there on the board would be, would be included in whatever traffic study was completed.
I just submitted a snapshot of other roads in the area that you can compare the 52 traffic to. And again, from my perspective, while my business is pretty much find a reasonable traffic count. I mean, if you have a 40,000 car traffic count, but people can't access your site, the 40,000 cars are of no use to you. So you have to find a reasonable, traffic count that you can provide decent access to. And that's what we're hoping to achieve here.
Okay.
I'd just like to ask some questions. One,
I'm sorry, we're not allowing?
We're not allowed questions. There was the whole issue of ground penetrating radar. And I was surprised to find that didn't we have to send people out there?
After I wrote my letter, I did find out that they had submitted, I just hadn't seen it. So they
Okay.
have submitted
'Cause I was
something
gonna
to
say,
the town, yes.
Didn't we have town people out
We
there?
witnessed it, yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And the area shaded in gray on the plan furthest to your left is the ground penetrating radar study area. And that was both witnessed by the town, and I believe a report was submitted to the town. The anomalies that were perceived to be there were not found. There were some construction debris materials, but nothing of the scope that was previously perceived.
Okay.
So, the other question, the historic Wikipedia, every time I've kind of read about it, it seemed that most of the historical events occurred when it was a actual town square, and what the historical events are now actually underneath those homes behind the church, right? I mean, have you come across any kind of, other
No.
than there is a house that dates the Revolution among that block, I'm not aware of any, have you?
No, I have not, and in fact, there's always a balance when you're an applicant of, stating your case and the sensitivity of the neighbors. I'm not even sure it's a designated historic hamlet, to be truthful.
I don't think it's designated, I think the town recognized it, I don't think the state. And I think actually, I think what it's being, the preservation value cited would be because of its look and feel. It was actually generated by forgive me, for the straightening of Route 52, that basically then left that as kind of a cul-de-sac, right? So, yes, no?
Yeah.
I mean, that is, it's not so much because of the Revolutionary War and any of that stuff, it's the look and feel of the village. But, so there was that, and actually, I think that was it, just the ground plan radar and the traffic issues. Thank you.
So Michelle, is it fair to say, and again, I apologize, I was not able to attend that meeting back on January 9th, but is it fair to say that there was no input or consensus from the public on an appropriate preferred plan, I shouldn't say appropriate, a preferred version of the plan?
I don't know how to say this. I mean, essentially, the majority of the folks at that particular meeting were not happy about the gas station. I'll say that. There were also people there that didn't mind the entire submission, so I'm just balancing that. But I think my understanding was that that folks did not like the through road. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you've driven out there. I mean, people that have, no Wikipedia gas station signs are not going to like a Stewart's. I mean, I would love to be a playground for, underprivileged kids, but I'm a convenience store with gas. That's really the way it goes. They were not really receptive to the overall presentation, and that included as a public benefit, when we installed. See, my understanding is this: is if we go with the plan where we install the road, some of the zoning aspects of it might be altered because we're not going to meet the setbacks. I mean, this is an as of right plan. We do not perceive needing any variances for this plan. That plan, when we give up part of the property we're purchasing, we would need variances because we're no longer using to its fullest ability the land that we're providing. So even when we, as a offset to the variances, offered that we would run the water line that runs down 52, we would bring it to the intersection of Hook and Fishkill Hook Roads. That was not received by the neighbors either.
I will say that one resident, I think, who lives opposite where Fishkill Hook Road meets 52, was in favor of the alternate layout, the new through road, because I think he's experiencing problems leaving his home and maybe accidents or near accidents. So he spoke up actually in favor of it.
Yeah, and I think that would be an accurate representation of what took place. I mean, people were against the whole presentation, road or no road, or they liked the road.
So, with the alternate plan, you have 6 pumps there?
Correct, and we have 6 pumps because we're going to need variances from the setback to 52, which it's a 100-foot setback. I mean, when we give up the greater portion of the land that we're using, we can't achieve that 100 feet.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
It's okay.
Are there any other alternatives? And I'm looking at the alternative that connects Fishkill Hook to 52. It looks like there's a second building here. So would this then become a subdivision and you would have a second building?
That's correct. There's 3 parcels total that we're purchasing, so it'll be a subdivision and then reassemblage regardless. I mean, it'd be our intention to, in that instance, have 2 separate parcels, because the likelihood is we would either sell the other parcel if usable, or who knows what would become of it.
And then in the other layout, where your parking lot becomes essentially a connection between the two, or I should say there's access on 52 and access on Old Route 52. That does not have a second building?
Correct, because
So are you then
No, you'd still be I mean,
Subdividing
it's 3 parcels, so you have to subdivide and reassemble.
Okay. But you would only have one parcel in this version?
Correct. And let me rephrase that. I mean, it might be the case where with the road, it's one parcel anyway, because if we can't, well, it'd still be a subdivision, because it's 3 parcels now. If we go to 1 or 2, it's going to be a subdivision and assemblage regardless. But with the secondary building, if we can't achieve the necessary separation to the creek, we'll have to maintain it as one parcel for the septic. Is that correct?
But I don't know how that works with a road, with a town road, dividing it.
Yeah, I don't think you can run a septic under a town road, can you?
You just pump, I mean.
Well, it's not that, it's just, it's gonna be a septic on a separate tax.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I'd have to maintain it as
He's talking
one.
about a land hook,
Yeah, it's a land,
but I still don't see, are you gonna
Do
want?
land,
Well, if you do land, how you can have two buildings on it? Well, I guess you can.
but I mean, either way, it's a
You'll go by the
detail to be
coverage
worked
of
out, I
the-
mean, you don't have to work it out. But the one thing I just wanted to come back to the traffic, I think in this particular case, I think we did pull some accident data that Hudson Valley is going to be taking a look at. And I think we really need to pay attention to that in terms of the frequency. There was a pretty high frequency of accidents in that current configuration. And that, this could be, one and only opportunity to try to mitigate and improve
Would the town
them,
be in
so.
favor of this? I mean,
Well, that's it. I mean, I think in this particular case, that's going to be a key component of the traffic study is going to be the accident study and see, Brennan, whether you agree with that.
Yeah.
But I think we really need to get that information and interpret it.
is there a lot of accidents there?
There are, yeah.
Oh, we got a
Is there?
stat, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
near accidents there every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
especially
Why?
on the west side.
Oh, all right.
Yep.
Yeah, the
People
west,
trying to turn left out of the west side.
Yeah.
yeah, the sight
It's
distance.
not really sight distance,
yeah.
it's just that the cars are so frequent that people take risks.
I would make a case that the sight distance is also not that great, because there is some,
I was gonna say the same
there
thing
is
should
some
happen.
planting along 52 on that side of the road,
The turn.
and there is frequency of cars. I mean, I think if you have, or someone has the DOT information, but I think the eastbound traffic is more substantial than the west, which makes that, that shows that what you're saying is exactly true. The frequency of cars is higher, so people do make risks to exit and head westbound.
Do you have a preferred layout?
To be, yeah, I mean, listen, and I'm not even gonna, and I'm not even gonna hide it. I mean, we would prefer to install the road.
Okay.
And the reason is really capitalism at its finest. If we install the road, then everyone has to drive by the store.
So installing the road, to be clear then, on the west side of Old Route 52, you cul-de-sac?
Well, we were just talking about that.
Okay.
And some people were a little bit opposed to that, and we were just thinking is that what we could do is possibly the town board could put a weight restriction on that section of the road, so still leave it open to the residents. Because I think some of them want to be able to get out the quickest way possible, but it would take the truck traffic off it that goes to West Hook Sand and Gravel, which we thought was a big improvement. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be cul-de-sac, we could possibly just put a weight restriction on it.
Or only a right in, right out, maybe.
Or, yeah, restricted in some way.
Yeah, but the
That's a
right in,
possibility,
right out
too.
wouldn't make sense, because then you just,
That's a very substantial right in, right out. I mean, you would limit it with curb and landscaping and stuff like that, but it's
I think you
still
definitely
almost
want to
impossible.
eliminate Fishkill Hook Road coming out on the eastern side. That's
Yeah,
definitely,
right.
that would be eliminated.
Chuck, let me ask you this
for
question. Did you
right-hand
look,
turns too?
I think period. I think period.
Okay.
Is there any advantage to changing the speed limit to 35 there rather than further east?
On
Would-
which road?
Would DOT agree to something like that, do you think? I mean, if there's accidents already there?
getting speed limit changes are
Very
extremely difficult. and
Even
very
with the
uncommon.
accident data?
even with the accident data. I mean, there has to be.
No, we couldn't get a traffic light up there.
No. I mean, it's one of those things that I don't want to say it's an impossibility, but it's almost an impossibility. I mean, the only place you see speed reductions now, I mean, unless, there's really fatalities and real evidence of an issue, but now you see them at school zones. That's really the only place, and that's sort of a local as-of-right thing to get school zones. But for them to change the speed limit, there's the list of criteria and have an immediate, it's almost impossible to.
Because there are commercial businesses there already, so it's extended past where the 35 is now, and then this would just add to that. So, and it might make it safer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question
Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
Is there any chance that this would meet warrant for traffic light? Did you look at it far enough to know that?
Couldn't get it at the other gas
No, I mean, I don't know the amount of traffic on Fishkill Hook Road.
John Jay was the issue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for the
Proximity to John Jay.
Yeah, I'm not sure of how much traffic is on Fishkill Hook.
Well, now you combine potentially
Yeah.
combining two roads to one.
Right.
What would be the entrance on 52 to the gas station? Would that only be like a right-in? or-
Yeah, that would have to be a
That would
restricted.
all- Okay, so no left
They're too
hand.
close. Actually, I have a question, Chuck, and I know if you were going to put the road extension, did you look at, I mean, again, I don't know if this is capitalism at its finest with, with the rental space, but is there any potential to, change the alignment of the road coming out to 52? Granted, you'd have to cross the, have a culvert crossing, but the one on Fishkill Hook Road, if that's abandoned, you'd be eliminating that crossing. And you might even get it to be such that you can almost keep the layout that you have in your as-of-right layout.
That was not looked at, and the reason it was not looked at is because, A, the complexity of doing the creek crossing with the amount of fill and things like that would have to be brought in to construct the road. And secondly, that property is still in use on the corner. I mean, it puts it very close to the...
Actually, you're trying to stay away from that.
Yeah, I mean, because we're not, in this contract is not, I mean, the property, essentially, by...
In that triangle, right.
I mean, when you swing this road this way, you get pretty close.
Okay.
In my less than,
Okay, so we have two layouts here, one that just has your parking lot that could become a nice through road for folks to use, and one that has an actual road. With the actual road...
There it is.
What?
I didn't see it on the back here.
Oh. With the actual road, and I know this is just a kind of a sketch, but I think that we would need to widen it at 52 to allow for a left-hand turning lane out. Because traffic is going to queue trying to turn left onto 52.
I don't think.
what, do you mean widen do you mean put a left turn lane in?
Yes, I mean, you're
Okay.
probably at 3 lanes there for a number of cars. I don't know, Brendan, you can look at queuing. but-
And again, that would,
Yeah, right, come out of the traffic study.
A lot have to do whether you cul-de-sac the other side or not. Right? That would
Because,
weigh
yeah,
into that
people
decision.
who are going to take a left, they might go to the,
But
the
wouldn't the preference
westernmost.
be to cul-de-sac both sides? I understand residents may not have that as a preference, but I'm asking whether from the town's perspective, from a safety perspective and a traffic perspective, whether you would cul-de-sac both sides and just have this be the one access.
There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah, right.
The scenario cul-de-sac might warrant a traffic light, then, or it may not. So I think there's a lot of variables before you make that decision.
Or at minimum, have those turnouts be right only. Because
I don't
having
think
2
it's- I don't
or
think
3
anyone's gonna
roads very close
head
to each
west
other
to
with people
turn
trying to
right,
make
though.
left-hand turns.
I don't think anyone's going to head west to go east. I think if they're going to make that right, then they're just going to come to this road.
Depends where I
You
live,
follow what I'm
but
saying?
okay.
yeah, but you could only live on Fishkill Hook Road or Hook Road. You can't. I mean, there's only like 8 houses.
But but that's why I'm saying I think you'd cul-de-sac both
This
sides.
is a project that the traffic study is really important.
Yeah, right.
It has
Sort of figure out what the patterns are.
And that's what this submission was intended to do. I mean, I hope you see with our other stores development, we're not gonna just, pull the trust us, you're gonna get landscaping and lighting and stuff like that. I mean, we really, our reliance as an applicant here is to kind of get a sense of which way to go, and I think that the traffic study
Well,
is
one
gonna
of the
provide that.
options we have is to open an early public hearing and allow the public one more time to come in and comment on layouts we've narrowed down so that we can zero in on a site plan.
And while I was or kind of wavering on which layout I preferred, I would definitely prefer an early public hearing, and the reason that is because by opening the public hearing, I can then address the architecture review board's comments and get approval from that board.
The drawback to that, and I'm in favor of it, but the drawback to that is that we likely at some point adjourn you to a date uncertain. Because then, once there's a site plan chosen, you're gonna have a whole bunch of additional information you've gotta build and give to us. So we typically wouldn't, that's one of the downsides, unless you're very confident that regardless of the layout that's chosen, you're gonna be able to provide materials fairly quickly. Because we wouldn't adjourn.
I mean, I guess part of my question is how long do you think the traffic study would take?
I mean, we'd have to get out and count traffic. I mean, it would probably be, at least a few weeks' time. But, not, definitely, we want to get things done before, before holidays. So in terms of traffic counts and stuff, we want to get those now and, no later than the mid part of November.
I mean, from my perspective, I mean, does that mean you're counting in the middle of November?
Yeah, I mean, you got to get the data and you got to process the data.
Right.
I mean,
I wouldn't, you say by the end of, by the end of November, and that's, I would say, reasonable.
So I guess at that point, I can make my next appearance in the first meeting of December?
Next appearance for,
Well, at that point, it would be to discuss their traffic results.
did you want to schedule a public hearing in the meantime to help narrow down which site plan to choose from the public's perspective? Or did you want to wait until your traffic study is done and go from there?
I think you need the traffic.
I think that
best served to have the traffic.
Yeah, and I think that,
Because that's the main thing.
That's the main.
right, it is, it's really, I mean, it really is
Well, one among other things.
I think that will provide the information that the public is really gonna,
Okay.
To make it more meaningful.
On both.
yeah, I mean, that's what, they're gonna need to see statistics on accidents and things like that, because, again, it's a very emotional, if you live there, it's very emotional to have roads that you've used, change traffic patterns and things like that. But with data, I think that kind of show what we're trying to provide.
Okay. On both alternatives, is the Stewart's itself the same size, same number of square feet?
I'm 90% sure that it is.
Okay. The numbers are just too small, I couldn't read them.
That's on purpose.
I do think that in both instances, they're roughly 3,700 square foot building.
Okay. And do you have a proposed, is this another retail space, or is this an office space on the plan that has two buildings?
We don't have, I mean, we just showed it as
you're just showing it.
a what-if scenario.
You wouldn't be applying for any kind of site plan approval in that case.
We don't have neither a tenant nor a person to sell the property to or anything like that. We're literally just, showing.
Just showing that it's possible.
That it's possible if,
Okay.
that comes.
But
It would
no
be,
plan or intent to develop at this time?
not at this time, no. Again, it would be, subject to the same zoning that's in the zone now.
Okay.
From a traffic perspective, we would include, some traffic generation for that site, probably based on retail more than office space, because probably be more likely that it'd be something like that.
Okay.
And I just have a question. Regardless of the plan you go for, and not considering the need for variances, is there any issue that stewards would have with pulling the building as close to 52 as possible? I'm just thinking as far as giving separation distance from all the neighbors. The closer the building is and the farther away it is from the back of people's houses, the better off as far as lighting and noise. So I just was wondering if there's any, from your perspective, I know on the plan with the through road, it's close, but on the other plans,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
On the as of right, it's definitely farther away. Closer to 52 then. Yeah. Looks like it.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
I'm saying, on the as of right, the building is closer to 52 than on the alternate.
Correct. When you rotate the pumps, you do put it closer to the neighbors.
Yeah, and I can see your point that, you know, now the store is right up against the backyard of the neighbors. It's gonna be another concern.
But again, to Brendan's point, if the road could be aligned a little bit further out, you might still be able to move it and get the building in a different location.
But the answer to your question is no. I mean, there are a couple of things that you'll notice in our new applications, and I think we tried to achieve it at Lake Walton, although Lake Walton's kind of a different scenario because you have a corner entrance building, so the gas is directly out of the entrance, and really the traffic lanes for backing up are on either side of the gas canopy. We try and maintain 30 feet separation from the back of a parking spot to the front of the canopy, and that's because most of our in-lot vehicle conflicts are people backing out of a spot and someone pulling out from a gas pump. Similarly, we try and provide 25 or 30 feet between the gas pump and the wing curb, so that should, in theory, allow two vehicles to pass each other. But I think those things can be worked out as we proceed.
All right. Are there any other layouts that you've considered that we should walk through? Any other feasible layouts that you've considered? Sorry.
The only other layout that we feasibly considered would be when you consider the road alternative, is just rotating the building, 22 degrees or something like that. It puts it kind of at an angle, moves it a little bit, if you rotate the corner just a little bit. But that's really, we are still kind of confined with the amount of land that we're buying and, where the building can go with the road.
Brendan, did you look at bringing the road out further to the west?
No, I mean,
No,
I think that was my.
west, to bring the stewards back to the east side.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, no, I didn't consider that.
It would put a sharper bend, right? Because you're going to have to get around the edge of the property line.
Right.
So do you mean? So we're clear taking this and doing this?
Yeah, turning it in some way so that your site would end up on the east side. It would be further away from the residences.
I think that makes it incredibly awkward, because then the Stewart's is tucked between the creek and the back of the property, and the visibility is, then you're back to a scenario where people would almost want to come in the back way to enter the Stewart's, because by the time they saw it, they'd be right upon it. So that's why.
So in your as of right, you wouldn't flip the stewards and the gas pumps?
We didn't really, I don't think that we considered that alternative, but I think that the way we have it now is more sensitive to the neighbors than flipping the gas.
If you look at your as of right, you are going to have people that probably turn in there and try to get to the back of your site. So you're going to have a lot of people just driving past the pumps.
You mean
You're not
people-
suggesting they're gonna use it as a cut-through as of right, are you?
You don't think so?
Huh?
You don't think so?
Not without getting gas or milk or, because there's usually cars in here. So why would you
Yeah.
drive into that to try to cut through? It's not like it's just like a medical office where everything's stagnant. I mean, you know, garages, I guess they're usually busy.
What time of day it is.
Well, 2 AM, yeah, another story, but what, to save 2 minutes? A minute, 30 seconds?
Not in the heavy traffic.
I could also see it for people under 20.
But I mean, the alternative of going to Fishkill Hook and taking a right-hand turn, I mean, there's probably, having negotiated through the lot itself and around the pumps, there wouldn't be any time savings in cutting through there. I mean, if we're talking about the people cutting through, it would be just avoiding having to go a few hundred more feet to Fishkill Hook, right?
After having already driven by one.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was just about to say. If you're traveling east, you got to pass.
We're talking, okay.
If you're traveling, I mean, you're going to pass an entrance to Fishkill Hook Road before you get to the entrance to the Stewarts, regardless.
Okay. No other layouts?
I mean, no.
I'm sorry, I wasn't there on January 9th. You said you had several layouts, so I didn't know if there was others.
Oh,
that
no,
were viable that we should
the other
consider.
one we were just referring to is the two access points on 52, the building.
Which I don't think is feasible. so-
Right, the building's slightly altered. To get to this point, we internally vet, I mean, a lot of versions of this, but we, come out with what we think is our best.
Okay.
And obviously with the traffic and some of the other issues that we're going to face, we wanted to show, you, the town, or the planning board and the town, and the residents that literally as of right, we could construct a Stewart's, this way. We do see the benefit besides, and obviously I made my joke about capitalism at its finest, but there is a benefit to installing the road if the traffic, data indicates that there's an existing problem. I mean, you have the opportunity to fix a situation, and I have the opportunity to build a store.
Okay.
Win-win.
So Brendan, because this is in discussion right now, I won't schedule a specific meeting for your return. What will happen is once we have the information, we will put you on our next available meeting agenda, so.
And also that's if he gets the variances too.
He wouldn't need variances in either of these, I didn't think.
Oh, as of right, I don't believe you need a variance, is that correct?
Yeah, my interpretation of the town code is that as of right, we do not.
No, I'm not saying about the as of right, I'm just saying if we were to go with the alternate.
Yeah, if we were to, yeah, if we were to,
I think the 100-foot's already, we've already broke the ice with the 100-foot.
Well, I would maybe say that moving it in the as-of-right closer to the roadway is even a possibility. So there, in that case, I would say that a variance would not necessarily be a bad idea, even under the as-of-right, for site efficiency and moving it farther away from the neighbors. But that would also depend on what we hear about the traffic and the roadways and the circulation and all of that.
yeah,
But I don't think you have to get a variance before we have a discussion on the plans, because if, as of right, you don't need a variance, then if the town prefers a different site plan that requires a variance, if he can show he doesn't have to have one, it's not a hardship to him, we're recommending it because it's a better plan for the town, I think that's different.
and I think that there was we'd had a discussion about doing a specific development district or something like that. Should we get to needing multiple variances where it becomes, no longer reasonable to ask that of the zoning board or the town.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry,
No, that's fine, that's fine. So Brendan, you'll give us the high sign when the traffic study is completed and we have the information we would need for the next discussion before we set a public hearing.
Yep. I mean, I'll discuss it with Chuck and work it out with him and, and commit to a date for him.
Okay. And again, as soon as it's ready, we would just put you on our next available agenda.
Lori, I guess just in terms of the different layouts and the scenarios, if you can also try to factor in some at least conceptual, what your thoughts are for stormwater control and any kind of water quality practice that you might have.
Yeah, I mean, with the limited amount of square footage we have, I think we'll have to do some type of...
Underground, mainly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we typically do underground array systems for storage. I don't know about a quality issue. I mean, I would think we'd have to go with some type of...
separator.
Yeah, like I mean, like the downstream defender or whatever it is. Because we're not going to have room for sand filtration or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can wait and get into the details of the SWIP once you have your final layout nailed down, but you should start at least showing some concept of what you're thinking along those lines.
Yeah, and just not to sound like a broken record, but that was really what this was about, is to get to that point. Because we can't, I mean, lighting, landscaping, stormwater, they're all contingent upon how we lay out the site.
Do you have an early estimate of what your water demand's going to be?
We use about 500 gallons a day.
I think, I'm going to go back to Joe's comment. I think maybe the one thing I would say is we'd want to make sure, specifically with the more restrictive roadway coming through, that your stormwater would work for the site, especially if you're looking to divide it into two sites. Even if you keep them together, we want to make sure it's feasible before we offer it as an alternative. So I'm not talking about going too far with it, but just make sure, I mean, and Joe, you can probably say better than me, like what the basic bulk calculation might be to make sure it's not way out of whack, or that it's not going to
Yeah, and maybe
fit on the
have each
site.
sides of the road kind of be self-sufficient when it comes to stormwater, if you can, as much as
Or if
possible.
it affects the placement of the road to give you space to do your stormwater or something like that, we should know that as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm with the other developments that we've done, instances where we have tenant situations, I'm very comfortable that we could achieve what we need to.
Okay. So then you know the risk that if we go down a path and we pick one and you can't make it work, then you have to come back, where it just sets you back. As long as you know that and you're comfortable with that, that's
I
fine.
don't want to have any inherent fatal flaws.
Was it the 5 Ps, proper, what was it, proper, I should really know it before I say it. Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
There you go, okay. Excellent, okay, thank you. The next item on our agenda is a discussion for the Chase Bank amended site plan on Route 82.
No, that one
Chuck, these are these photos.
You might want to move it so we can keep an eye on Steve Caswell.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
No, I just,
Well, we can move Steve probably easier than we can move Bethany.
I'm keeping an eye,
Keep them awake.
And do you have a plan to put up on the board as well?
I don't. I didn't realize that
Oh, it's there, okay.
it is there. Oh. Okay.
Great.
Good evening. I'm John Bodendorf of Hudson Land Design, the engineer for the applicant. I'm here with Richard Schweitzer, who represents the applicant for the project. The site is located at 817 Route 82. There's an existing Chase Bank branch on the property, and the Unity Plaza or A&P Shopping Plaza surrounds it. And their neighbor to the, I guess that would be the west, is a post office. Essentially what they're looking to do is provide a secondary access to the site to the internal looped road for the plaza.
Okay.
and also provide additional parking, because right now they are deficient.
Okay.
There's no proposed changes to the building. We understand we'll be providing additional landscaping to dress the site up, but that's essentially what's
Is there a rear
proposed.
entrance to the building now for customers?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so is there a sidewalk? I know you have a drive-through, I think, on one side.
Yeah, there's a drive-through on the west side. Yeah.
Right, and then so how, if I'm a pedestrian parking in the back?
Well, they do that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's parking back there now.
Okay, and then how am I safely getting from the back to the front of the building to get in as a customer?
There is a sidewalk along the east side
Okay,
that allows them to get to the front.
okay. I haven't parked back there, so I wasn't familiar with whether or not there was an easy way to do that.
I thought not
I
that
shouldn't
long
say
ago
easy, I should say safe. I meant
there
safe.
was an application to put a ATM or something in the front.
See, I thought this.
I'm not aware of that as well.
It's in the lobby.
It's in the corner.
There's a
They were
little
looking
airlock
to-
that you go in, and there's an ATM in the.
I thought they were looking to add another one of some sort and do away with it with a teller station.
Yeah, see, that's the way I thought this started, and this was a quid pro quo that said, actually, while we're gonna change the site, why don't we look at joining out the back? And then, so you guys are really very receptive to going out the back?
Sure.
Yes.
I would
You're
imagine
not aware
this
of
guy-
any other modification in the front?
If I may, that may have been an application put through by Chase themselves. That wasn't by us.
We just want to have you come up to the mic because we can't hear you.
That may have been an application that was presented by Chase, but it wasn't presented by us. We're not aware of that. I have no knowledge of that at all.
When you say us, you mean your
The
engineering
applicant,
firm?
well, we're the owner of the property now. It was,
Because it says Chase Bank, but it's...
well,
They don't
Chase is
own
not
the
the
property.
applicant, they're just a leasee.
Okay.
GBR Spofford is the owner of the company, of the owner of the property now. And we're
Okay.
the applicant for this,
Okay,
for the roadway.
okay.
Okay.
I think this is a great idea for a couple of reasons. One is, scrub brush and debris in the back is terrible. Clean this up.
Well, and the more traffic we can off 82 and onto the rear road, the better off we are.
And if I may, we were the actual original developers of Unity Plaza also. And that was the intention of the original site plan approval, was to
Right.
have all of the individual property owners
I
along.
remember that.
To make that connection. However, that was up to each individual property to then make that application to do that. We just had to allow that cross easement to occur, which we granted. So now we own this piece of land, we just purchased this piece of land, and for whatever reason, they never made the connection. However, the curb cut was actually installed. We just want to make the connection, because we think it's the right thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great proposal.
Great proposal, just needs some tweaking.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a lot better than what's there now.
Not get too ahead of ourselves.
So I had the Hopewell gas station that's currently under renovation right
Right.
now. If you remember, we had asked that they get a use and occupancy permit from the DOT so they could add additional landscaping and make it a little bit more robust, more in keeping with, it's not exactly in keeping with what's gone on in the bank, but just so it would look a little bit more robust and beautify the area. So I spoke with John today about the potential for the landscaping, and one thing we discussed was to share with him the landscaping that was spec'd out for that location, because it was DOT approved, so for site distance, first of all, and second of all, if they could bring in some of those plants, they could make it a little bit more uniform in that area as well.
So where would that appear on this site? Because
Where
right
would
now, isn't it?
additional landscaping be?
Yes.
Well, currently, right now, there's some landscaping at the front of the site, but I think it can be beefed up a little bit or made a little bit nicer looking, and then along the
I
back
just
as well.
can't picture any landscaping on it right now. That's what I'm.
Without significant, because again, you would actually start to cut into the
Do you
sight
have land, can you
lines.
just point on your plan
There's-
where?
There's this island.
That
here
island,
where
that's
there's
it.
some-
Okay, I guess okay.
I just passed it tonight, that's why I'm.
No, I'm not doubting
When I
it.
came in,
It's a
I
picture in
looked
my
at
head.
it
I
very
don't-
specifically.
Yeah.
It's not
But aren't
noticeable.
all of those,
It's at the
you know,
top.
cutting
Other
the
one.
sight lines for drivers?
Yeah, in there.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
Yeah,
that's,
okay.
that's, this, the landscaping that was spec'd for the gas station was within the site distance, and so they spec'd
low
DOT-approved
plants or
plants.
something like that, okay.
Because DOT had actually approved that. That's why I was saying I might share it with them, because it would not only have uniformity, but also they're already
Consistent.
approved by DOT.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that would apply to the rear entrance as well. Anything we did back there, we would want to make sure it's not going to impede sight lines.
We would wholeheartedly agree with that.
Right.
Actually, I think something we noticed out there is that, some of the, some of the plantings that were put in as part of Unity Plaza on that corner might actually be encroaching on the sight lines a little bit right now to come out of there, so.
There's no lighting proposed, right?
No. It's not a night operation, so.
Are there any other changes that you're proposing aside from the additional parking in the back?
No, actually.
Okay.
We did get some recommendations from your traffic consultant, and for the most part, we have no issue with most of them, but there are a few that are a bit of a concern and could potentially be a deal breaker for the applicant, depending on what the final scope of what would need to be done ends up being. And I don't know if we discuss that here or if we, have
Well,
it
if you want,
off on-
Lori, if you want me to just run through some of the stuff that I commented on.
What John just shared is he pulled up the
Aerial.
Google map of aerial, thank you. So that's amazing. I can't imagine how many times I've driven past it or driven in and not seen.
So, Laura, if you want, I'll just, I mean, I can go through some of my comments and then, at least so the
Okay.
board can understand. Certainly one of the issues with 82 in general is access control and driveways being too close together and also being, full access driveways. So if you look at the front configuration of the property, the eastbound entrance is very wide, and it also has a parking space basically right inside the entrance. So if we're going to add parking in the back, a thought here would be to narrow that down, because it's a one-way in. Narrow that down to something like maybe 15 feet and eliminate that parking that's right adjacent to the curb line there to improve the access a little bit coming in. And then also the westbound, or the west exit, potentially, since there is now the rear connection, and if you wanted to go, if you wanted to continue westbound on 82, you could either go out to the Unity Plaza Loop Road and come out their entrance, or even go to the right and come out to the light at Unity Street. So maybe the exit should be restricted to be a right turn out, and not a left turn out. And it also is in very close proximity to the light at Unity Street, which most of the times during the day, you can't make a left out of that site anyway. I don't know, your observation would agree with that, but the queue will often back up, beyond this point. So making a left-hand turn out of this site's pretty difficult to begin with, but
Ultimately, that might be the case depending on what the future road improvement project shapes up to be.
For 82,
If the
right.
center median happens to go in there, then the left turn
Would disappear anyway,
disappear anyway.
Right, and I agree with most of what you're saying, but I think if they have the option to go out the back, a smart person wouldn't want to try and make that left when it's busy on 82.
Right.
As far as reconfiguring the entrance or the ingress, I don't think they have any interest in getting involved with major DOT permit work for this. Eliminating a parking spot or two is probably okay, but since they're deficient already, they don't want to get rid of too many of their existing parking spaces. But that's something I think they would consider.
I would strongly recommend, Brendan, to your point, the parking spot that's right inside the driveway is difficult because you have now pedestrians crossing right over as somebody's trying to zoom in and get around other traffic. So I think at least that first spot, I would.
Well, the same width continues right through. If they really needed that parking line, the curb line, they could just swap it, shift it up, shift it forward.
Don't you find that self-limiting today, that people, I would never park right there. It's like,
When you get out of your car,
really
you're getting out of
scary.
your
Do
car
park
into an
right
entrance.
there.
You're opening
I'm
your
sorry,
door.
people
right?
Yeah,
absolutely
well,
park right there.
I'm always
Yeah.
nervous when I ride that.
The other aspect, when we looked at the plan, that sort of jumped out at us a little bit, is that the new lot and the existing lot, they don't really work well together in terms of access and flow through the site. So, and I don't know if part of it was driven by the amount of impervious, and the coverage of the lot, because I know I recognized it was 75% coverage, and that's what the code is.
It absolutely was. What we attempted to do was provide as many additional parking spaces as we could, and not impinge on that easement in the back. So, yeah, it's not the greatest in terms of layout, but if you've been to that site, I mean, I've been there a handful of times, and there's always cars parked off the side of the pavement, so they're seriously deficient in spaces. So we tried to max it out. If we don't end up with that many additional spaces, it's probably okay. But if they have to do major
What
renovations.
I'm saying is, if you took out
Taking
that.
the parking that right now is perpendicular to 82 and
And making
actually
it
turning
par-
it so it's aligned with the new parking space. So you just kind of continue that new parking space down towards the building?
Right.
Wouldn't you get more spaces?
Well, I mean,
With
when
no
I looked at it, I
additional
think you would at
pavement?
least get the same number of spaces, if not more, if
Yeah,
not a couple
I
more.
think you'd get more.
I think we could do that and achieve the same number. Maybe we lose one or two, because there is a utility pole right in the middle of that area, which kind of hinders how you lay it out.
Well,
you don't wanna be
maybe there's a
looking at
possibility of creating an island there, because you still want, I mean, you want to drive, you're going to have a drive-through for the bank.
Right.
So you're going to need to go in and have some control of the site to be able to go around and in through the drive-through, or pass by and go out the back. So maybe where that utility pole is, I don't know exactly where it is, but, you might be able to develop a little bit of an island in there, still shed the parking on either side and put it, perpendicular to the property lines, get the same number of spots, but be able to sort of, exit the site a little bit easier. I mean, look at the constriction between the last parking space and the curb line.
Well,
It's
you're
like,
just concerned about site coverage? Is that what you're saying? The lot coverage?
Well, yeah, I mean, we played around with a couple different layouts, but when we ended up with this, we realized we were pretty much at the max for lot coverage.
I
so-
would
You
say that
actually
in this
could pull
particular
up
case,
pavement.
we might be able to also talk about a variance for lot coverage, if it's going to be better, more efficient site design. And safety, as far as safety is concerned, I think that should take a
But
precedent.
if you continue the proposed parking, see how you come in from Unity and it's parking on either side? If you just continue that down towards the building, you may lose a spot wherever that pole is.
but you'd have to widen the lot out to be like the width of the existing,
I think it
or
should be.
narrow the
think
existing down. I
Or
mean,
narrow the existing down,
Right,
which would
right.
give you less pervious
Yeah, right.
surface. That's what I'm saying. I think, and it's really just striping. I mean.
Yeah,
think
I
you could
guess,
at least
I mean,
as many.
it looks like we could make that work where you'd have the aisle to get around to the drive-through in, between the telephone pole and the building, and have the parking up to that point.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, there's only five spaces there, right?
Right. So you just have to be able to get down three spaces. I think you got it. You might even get,
And like I said,
seven instead of five.
if they lose, a couple spaces, it's not going to kill them. We just don't want to, lose too many because of their existing conditions.
I'd try it. I think you might get a couple extras out of it. Even if you don't, I think you'd get at least as many as you have now.
And I would say if you need to play with the coverage a little bit, and it makes it work better and safer, then
Yeah, because our goal has always been to get as much traffic as possible off the main road back onto the Unity. So, I mean.
Okay,
that's a
yeah,
benefit
we can certainly work with that type of layout, but if we could get back to the concern over the revamping the ingress at 82.
I
you know,
think
that.
you're okay leaving it as is if you can just
Get
pull
rid of
that
it.
one spot out of there.
Yeah, okay.
Because that really is hazardous right now, and you have pedestrians crossing right in front of almost every car coming into your site.
Yeah, I parked there today.
Okay, well.
And someone almost hit me.
The handicap that you're showing now, is that existing condition?
Yes.
That's not what you're going to propose, right?
No, if we're going to turn the parking in the back, we'll,
But even the front one, right, you're going to move that to the building.
you know, I mean, that makes the most sense. Yeah, yeah.
You just missed it.
Just restripe, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The only other significant comment I had also related to, you know, I mean, ultimately, I think that, and Scott, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think ultimately that Unity Plaza road will potentially get dedicated to the town. So, you know, we might look to try to get a little bit of an easement back there because the corner is a little bit, you know, might need a little tweaking to flatten that corner a little bit. And then even whatever, you know, there might need to be a little property.
Flatten the radius.
Flatten that radius of
Right.
that back corner a little bit. And
Yeah, I don't think
Well, that is, and that was, again, that was part of the original approval of Unity Plaza too, that road was supposed to be dedicated over to.
We just need you to come up to the mic. I'm sorry, we can't hear what you're saying.
That was also part of the original proposal, that road was supposed to be dedicated to the town.
Okay.
Right.
Once construction was completed.
Well, I think what happened is that curve got installed basically having to respect your property line, or this property line for this parcel, if you see where the corner of the property is.
Right.
So it could be a much nicer, softer curve.
Oh, I don't think there's an issue on our
Yeah,
end.
okay, with, you know, again, it doesn't interfere with what you're proposing, it's just that we want to look to maybe pencil in an easement there.
I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
And that would probably help with the sight distance, sight lines looking that way as well.
Yeah. And then, actually, one other thing, the refuge collection. I couldn't tell from the plan if that was sort of out in that back dirt area.
Yeah, we'll show a
Show it
revised
somewhere.
location for that. That
Okay.
makes more sense with this new layout.
Okay.
Lori, one of our comments that hasn't been talked about yet is a sanitary sewer. They do have a existing sewer main at the rear of the property. And I think by rights, they're supposed to tie in to that, particularly when they make a significant improvement on their property. So we were asking that they consider that, or I don't know how much choice they have in the matter, but.
Hey, you said you just bought the property. When did you buy it?
About a year ago, maybe?
So I don't even know if they were privy to all that, but by rights, you should be connected to the Hamlet sewer, so you're technically in violation of that, so we need to address that, as Joe said, as part of this.
It's a good idea.
And where's the sewer line?
Behind you.
It runs right through that.
Unity Plaza?
There's an
It's,
easement in the back of your property.
Like where
it
the
runs right
directional
through.
arrows are in your rear entrance, right about in that location, running parallel to Unity.
Yep. There's a manhole in the.
That line was
Right,
actually
pretty much
installed as
right on
part
the-
of the Unity construction, if you were around back
We
then.
didn't do the construction. See, we got the proposal, we got the approval. When upon approval, we sold the property to A&P. A&P then sold the property to New Plan Realty or somebody like that, and they actually did the construction. And then they leased it back, A&P leased it back from them. So we got the approval and then sold the property. We had nothing to do with the construction.
Okay.
Any other questions for us or anything else we need to cover?
I don't think so. I think we covered the main concerns we had. So would the next step be come back with a revised plan, and
Yes.
if it's
Yeah,
looks good to everyone?
Probably one more discussion and then we can schedule it.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions from board members or professionals? Okay, great.
One last question.
Sure.
Would it be appropriate to send an interim plan to your consultants to take a look at before we officially resubmit? Or is that not?
Yeah, that's fine. You're
I
welcome
think
to
I
work.
encourage you to work through the parking scheme to the greatest extent possible, and try to have it nailed down.
Yeah.
We just need to make sure Pam is CC'd on everything that we send to
Sure.
her. She's the planning office. So. and
Yeah,
if you-
absolutely. I'll work that out through Pam.
Yeah, we can just do that through email, that's fine.
Okay, great.
But you're welcome to have conversations with our professionals if
Yep.
you have questions or whatever before you come back to us. That's fine.
Okay.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead. I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye.
Well, I had one, it doesn't matter if it's on the record, it's just that we passed out the proposed changes to the Four Corners
Good.
zoning. So if everybody's happy with that, we can forward it to the town board.
Can everybody, within the next day or two, take a look at it and make sure if you have any questions or want changes, just send them over to Michelle?
Yep.